Well, happy Friday, everyone. You know what that means? Another live lawn care Q&A. My name is Ron Henry, and I am here to help answer your lawn care questions. If this is the first time you have joined us on the show, welcome. Super happy to have you here. The way this works, you'll see a chat box on your screen, whether you're on YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook. And on that screen, you can enter your question, concern, comment of the day. And I work through them in the order they come in. Sometimes I have the answer, sometimes I do not. But either way, we have an awesome time talking about lawn care. Now, here's the thing, guys. Oftentimes, I always say my tagline, sometimes I have the answer, sometimes I don't. But tonight, I got some help. So if you guys know Devin, he is the greenskeeper at the club at Flying Horse. He is joining us tonight. So we'll just be hanging out, talking about various topics. And, if you have questions that relate to cool season grass, he can be your guy. I can get his help with it as well. So hopefully you guys are having a great evening. Let me bring him in. Let me see if we can make this happen through the magic of technology. Let's hope. Fingers crossed. All right, there we go. Devin, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, cool. So he's here tonight, guys. Again, if you have any of you with cool season grass, it's a great time to ask questions about that. Or if you have questions about, some of you guys that want to have greens at home, this guy is what he does. He takes care of them for a living. And so, yeah, should be a great time. All right, so first of all, let me see who we have here in the live stream tonight. We got Jerry Ward saying happy Friday, Ron. What's going on, Jerry? Thanks for coming to hang out. I appreciate you as always. We got Jermaine Battles, happy Friday. BMH saying happy Friday, Ron. We also have, I told VMH that you were going to be coming before the show started. He says, that's great, so awesome. So make sure you guys have a lot of good questions because this is a very busy man. To have him on here is an honor and privilege, so make sure you guys make good use of his time. So we got a couple of super chats here. We got one from Mary J and also one from Archie. So what we're going to do is, because I want to make sure that Mary has her time. So Archie dropped, the bigger super chats as he's always prone to do. But we want to make sure that Mary is recognized as well. So Mary is up first. So she gives us a super chat. Thank you so much, Mary.
Super chat received.
And then followed by Mr. Archie Amos. He says, let's go LG. Let me bring this down.
Super chat received.
All right, so what we're gonna do, Archie and Mary, hopefully you guys will not, you won't hate this too much. What I'll do is I'm gonna make, put Mary and Archie up as, at least for the first hour, and then we'll just move it just to Archie. Because I want to make sure that Mary is recognized as well, since she, she was the first super chat of the evening. She kicked it off, and then so Archie. So hopefully you don't mind sharing the spotlight a little bit, Archie. All right, so there we go, and like that. All right, guys. So there you go. Your name in lights for whatever that means to you. All right, cool, guys. So I'm looking forward to it. So Devin, tell us what is new and exciting when it comes to with you. I know you guys moved. You're working on a new lawn. How are things at the course? That kind of stuff.
Yep. So we've been in our new house just about 2 months now. Closed at the end of February. So it's a new build. So blank canvas. So going to be putting a new yard in later this summer, which I'm pretty excited about. And then as far as the course, pretty slow. It's been probably one of the worst springs on record that I can remember. I did some soil temps earlier this week, and ideal range is 55 to 60 degrees. And we're in our greens, which are sand-based, which is the warmest part of the course, we're still at like 35 degrees. So we're about 20 degrees shy of where we need to be. We're about a month and a half to close to 2 months behind where we normally are. Just at the mercy of Mother Nature. We're still getting nights in the 20s, teens, which is pretty weird for this time of year. We're supposed to get snow tonight. Last week we got 6 inches of snow. The week before we got 8 inches of snow. It's just been a pretty weird spring. So we're getting like pockets of stuff that are trying to wake up, but then other stuff that's still just completely in winter dormant mode that once it gets warm enough, it'll get grown, which is a little stressful because we're open for play now and the greens are open. We did our aeration, which we also had to move back because of Mother Nature. So members are ready to golf and everyone's ready to get going, but
course isn't 100%
yet. Happening. No.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I think I can speak for everyone in the Southeast where we say we appreciate, the struggles you guys are having up there in Colorado Springs, but you guys need to keep your cold weather and snow. We want to have our fun down here. All right, so guys, if you're on Instagram as well and you have questions, feel free to chime in as well. We have one question, one that came in from L. Bruner. He says, "Hey Ron, happy Friday. Can you use Celsius on Kentucky bluegrass to control POA?" Well, first of all, for controlling POA, Certainty, this is a better option for controlling POA annua than Celsius. And then the answer to both of them is no. Like you can't use either one of these on Kentucky bluegrass or really any cool season grass. Celsius and Certainty are for warm season grass only. So, that's a good question. So when it comes to, we'll take his question here, Devin, it's one of the things we want to talk about. When it comes to dealing with POA in cool season turf and a residential lawn where you don't have access to a lot of the really, some of the more exotic options that are labeled only for professional turf, what do you do? Like, what do you deal with if you already got POA in your lawn?
You probably just honestly live with it or plug it out and reseed it or put in new sod is your best bet. It's pretty once you have it, it's in a residential scenario, it's pretty impossible to get rid of easily manually.
Yeah, that's the thing. So guys, those of us in the Southeast or with warm season turf, we are very, very spoiled in the sense we have herbicides that can target POA. Now, I mean, POA is still hard to get rid of, but if you go after it with Certainty at the higher rates and use surfactant, it can get the job done. At least we have options, whereas if you have cool season turf, there's not a lot of great ones, at least for residential lawns anyway. All right, so we got Jason Harrison up. He says, "Hello, lawn friends. You see that like button? Smash it. Definitely, guys. I mean, I know we're only getting started, but if you guys would mind hitting that like button ever so gently, I would really, really appreciate it. It's a free way to support the channel." All right, next up, we have Mr. Robert Rainey in the house. He says, "Evening, everyone, and happy Friday." What's going on, Robert? Hopefully all is going well. So guys, we've been tracking Robert's lawn, right? He's been like the poster child lawn on the show here for the past few weeks, and he sent me some new pictures of it. In the last week, he was down at 0.20 inches for his cutting height, which is pretty insane. And today he's bumped it up a bit. He sent me a picture from today. So if you look, the picture on the left, the lawn on the left, that is at the point, let me see, that 0.20, I believe, cutting height. And then, as you can see there by the grass gauge, the prism gauge, and then on the right, he's moved it up to I told him 0.3, but he's saying it's really 0.40. So looking at the difference,
Looks
between
pretty
I
good.
can't really see a ton of difference between the .30 and the .20 and .40 from the standpoint of the color of the turf. The one on the left, the first one, actually looks a little bit better to me. But yeah, he's slowly raising the height to cut back up. Lawn is looking pretty awesome. Thank you for sending those pictures to me, Robert. You're a braver man than I. My lawn has never seen those cutting heights other than when it's been scalped. When I'm taking it down to the dirt in years past, that's when it's seen it. But as far as maintaining that height of cut, no chance. No chance. Now, as far as heights of cut, Devin, so as far as around the course, what do you guys aim for like, if you had to pick 3 areas, like greens, tee boxes, and fairways? What do you, I guess, what heights you go for, and then what kind of mowing frequency does that require for you guys to have a good result?
Sure, yeah. So tees and fairways we mow, or I guess tees and approaches get mowed at 3/8 of an inch, and that's with our collars as well. And
Okay.
tees are probably about once a week, but they're heavily regulated in the summertime.
Okay.
Fairways are about 7/16, and they're mowed 3 to 4 times a week.
Okay.
More if we have a tournament. And then the greens, we'll start those off in the summertime. They'll be a .130, and then we'll slowly notch them down to about .110
Wow.
as we get into season form. Yep.
Wow. That's quite a bit. And then again, as far as so just under half an inch, it sounds like for tees and fairways, and growth
Yep.
rate. You using that on tees and fairways mainly, or
Yep. So the tees and fairways will get primo, and then greens will get primo, and then a product called Cutlass,
okay.
and then packed ball, which is trim it.
So you get all 3 of them. Oh wow.
Yep.
So
And
why do the
greens are
greens
mowed
get?
every day.
Why the blend? Why the blend on the greens versus on? Is it a cost thing? Why you don't do that everywhere, or is it why do the greens require more?
No, it's just mostly to keep your grain real tight, and as one life cycle of that growth regulator wears off, you'll still have another one kind of performing. So you kind of get these peaks and valleys and flows of the life
Okay.
cycles. I guess what's that? There's a scientific name for it. I can't think of it. But as it wears off in the plant tissue, so there's always at least one
Working.
growth regulator that's working. Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think a viewer told me what he called it. He called it. It's probably not the scientific term, but he called it the coil spring effect, or whatever. He says if you allow it to fall off, you get this big flush of growth. So I guess by stacking them, you're trying to prevent that.
Yep, and yeah, you can get real bad rebound effect if they fall out of regulation and then you put them back under regulation. So it's mostly just to keep it as consistent as you can throughout the growing season.
Gotcha. Cool. All right. So Jim Ruman is up next. He has a question. He says, "Hey Ron, currently have a Greensmaster 1000, nice mower, but have been considering an Allet Sterling battery powered reel mower. Thoughts? Positive? Negatives? Thanks for all you do." So you're never going to hear me say anything bad about the Greensmaster. I mean, Toro. I mean, they are they make an awesome mower. I still love my 1600. I used my 1600 yesterday to mow the slope, the front lawn. It gets used every week, so love it. The benefits of the Sterling that I find is that it's not just a mower. So if you want a verticut, if you want a turf rake, if you want to, it's like the Swiss Army knife of like lawn. As far as taking care of your lawn, you have a lot of different tools in one, which has a lot of benefits. From a standpoint of cut quality, they're close. The GM is maybe going to be a bit better, mainly because it's just the weight of it. Like the Sterling is a lighter machine. Like I can pick one up by myself. A GM, I can take it out of like SUV, but I can't load it up in there myself. So just the extra weight just helps it sit on the turf a bit better. So I think, in my opinion, it produces a slightly better cut. But overall, if I could have, it's hard to say, but if I could only have one, knowing what I know now, based on the fact that I was using an Allet last year, I would likely lean towards the Sterling, mainly because it allows you to verticut and do these things that overall will help your turf look better and more consistent throughout the season. So, and that's a good point. So Devin, when it comes to, I'm not sure if you've ever used any of the Allet mowers, but I mean, for you guys, once the season really kicks up, like how important is verticutting become to, I guess, on the greens and other parts of the course to maintaining like consistency?
Not as much for like tees and fairways. They'll get their spring aeration and then they'll get their fall aeration, and that's about all they'll get for the season.
Okay.
Greens, we used to verticut them and top dress them every other week. We're kind of on this new program now. It's called like the non-disruptive program, where you calculate your sand depth that you applied in your top dressing and where your organic matter level is. It's this whole scientific thing that that a lot of courses
Playing
are doing.
with.
There's a superintendent in Minnesota at Hazeltine who's kind of like the guy who spearheaded this, and a lot of other superintendents are starting to follow suit. It's pretty much you find where your greens are the best and what you do to keep them there without having to disrupt the playing surface for members. So we might do them. We'll needle tine them in July after our member guest tournament because we'll stress them really, really bad for that tournament. So we'll go through and we'll needle tine them and verticut them and top dress them for that. And last year, that was the only time we did anything to the greens as far as disrupting the canopy and the playing surface besides our spring and fall aeration. And then we have a couple machines called Planet Airs that just run through and do slits in the greens on a delayed Tuesday start or a closed Monday. We'll run those on the machines, and usually we won't even top dress behind those anymore because they're so non-disruptive. You can use those machines and even go two directions and then do a roll behind them, and they're sealed up, and you can't even tell we had gone through with them.
Nice.
So cool. I guess anyways, we used to do it every other week, and now it's kind of like once a summer. So we're just trying to find where you can keep them the best without. Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Cool. Very cool. All right. So questions. So some of the people on Instagram are asking, hey, thanks for clarifying. Viewers can't see or hear your guest speaker. So guys, so to hear or see Devin, you have to be on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. So I would say come to YouTube because there you're going to be able to see everybody else. And you can be able to see both. I can't get him on here because the software that I'm using for streaming currently, I'm not connected to, it's not connected on Instagram. So you guys are going to be able to see. So come over to YouTube, hang out, and ask some questions. That's what he's here for tonight. All right. So we got Joseph Roberts up next. He says, good evening, Ron. I just finished a spray app, Turfplex and Nutrisolve. I like it, Joseph. Very cool. I like that combination. And then let's see. Rare J says, Ron, best lawn YouTube channel. I stumbled into a live stream of haters last night. Very sad. Thanks for building up your community and all you do. Man, listen, haters are a necessary evil. It's just if you just to get people that like what you do, you have to have people that don't like what you do, and it's just such is life, man. Such is life. You can't worry about it. I don't spend time thinking about it. Like I said a couple months ago. So there are a few things in life more powerful than living rent free in someone's mind. So, all right. And next up is Albert Jefferson Jr. says, hi from EJJ. And Mary says, I just sent some samples off to my local extension office this week and anxious to work on my soil profile. Very good. That I can't tell you. I cannot, and I'm not sure how you feel about this, Devin, but like soil testing, I can't really stress enough how important it is to building an effective nutrient program for your turf. I mean, it's like a soil test, one of these, whether you get like the My Soil one or you get one from your local extension office, just get it done, do it, because like fertilizers keeps getting more and more expensive. And it really makes sense to make sure that whatever you're applying fits what your soil needs. I'm not sure now with the course. You guys, do you guys have to soil test very often, or do you guys you fairly you keep a pretty good beat on nutrient levels, so you don't have to adjust that often?
Yep. So we do. We'll do our test every fall.
Okay.
We have a rotation of holes that we change, and it'll be greens, tees, fairways, and we'll rotate the holes from the years. And we actually do. There's 3 different tests that we do, different depths and different samples that we take that we send off for whatever we're trying to measure and figure out.
Nice. So you guys see.
So so very, very important.
Very important. You just don't wing it. You just don't guess. You don't go and figure, this year I feel like more phosphorus. The soil looks like needs more phosphorus. You don't do that.
Yep. Very important. Because I guess if you look at it, it's kind of a smaller scale for a residential, but if you're testing our fairways, and we haven't had to do any fertilizer apps to fairways as far as adding like a nutrient. We'll do a regular granular app. It's a 1624 we'll put down once every year. We do that anyways, but we're not getting anything back where it's like, maybe some Soplamag or some monophosphate or anything like that. And if you think about that, you have 36 acres. And if you're just buying for 36 acres, that's a lot of fertilizer, and especially with how expensive fertilizer is nowadays. So don't buy it if you don't need it.
I hear you.
And more importantly, don't apply it if you don't need to.
Don't apply if you don't need it. It makes sense. All right, so we got OK Lawn Guy up next. He says, how'd karate go? It went well. Actually, I can show you guys a picture. So I'm gonna switch over here really quick, see if I can make this happen. So actually, I'll just do this. So I competed in it will probably be my last tournament, because next year, hopefully, I'm hoping to get invited to test for fourth dan, or like to start the process. In which case, then you're done competing; you can't compete anymore. So, in the tournament, there are three different categories. There's weapons. Weapons hyung or weapons forms, open hand forms, so no weapons, obviously, and then point sparring. So your boy was able to get it done. I got gold in all three in weapon. I had there's like 9 people in my division. So in forms, weapons, and sparring. There you go. There's the that's not good. There's the hardware. There it is, and then which is enough for me to score 30 points, which got me the senior cup. So as far as the old guy division, male old guy division, I won, which is pretty cool. I'm pretty happy about that. It's a good way to go out. My last time, more than likely my last time competing. I've been doing it for I don't know. I've been a black belt since 2004, but
That's cool.
yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's 12 years or something like that. 11 years, a long time. So happy, great way to end it all. It was a lot of fun, and yeah, tournament went very well. Everyone had fun. A lot of the kids that were competing did well as well too. So overall, it was a great time. Didn't all my fingers are still here. Everything's broken. I didn't eat any kicks to the face, which is good. Didn't bust all this up. So overall, a successful event. So yeah, nice. All right, so. Let's see what else we have here. We have No Name saying, "Hey Ron and fellow lawn enthusiasts, looking forward to some great lawn chat. Let's get those likes up." Absolutely, guys. We have 90 something people in here right now. It keeps fluctuating, and we only got 43 likes. Surely we can do better than that. We can absolutely do better than that. And then okay, guys says, "How do you score such a giant lot in your neighborhood?" Great question. So. The reason why is because you guys remember, like in the mid 2000s, like between like around 2008 when the financial crisis happened, and all these houses, like the housing market crashed. So the area or the subdivision that I live in, like the way it was zoned, a lot of the original homes were zoned like in 2007, 2008, but because the financial crisis happened, they didn't actually build on a lot of the homes, right? So once things picked back up, like in 2014 or 2015, whenever it was when we built this place, it was already zoned for this larger property, and hence that's why this has one of the larger lots. But most of the lots around here are not this big. This is like one of the older allocations that was done many years before it was actually built. So that's why the whole idea of why the lot is so large. So that's the story behind it. Cool. So while I look for the next super chat, so Devin, one question I've gotten, and you know what, I am not qualified to answer it because I don't actually have one, and it's around the question of, hey, if I want to have a green at home, I want to go through the pain of having a golf green at home. Like if you had to give someone a step-by-step process of saying you're gonna create a green at home, what are they looking into? First of all, would you recommend doing it? And then second, if they're gonna do it, what would be the process to getting a good result?
So I guess I would personally not recommend it unless you have a ton of time on your hand. Once you do get it installed, you're going to have to mow it every day. You can't really skip mowing a green when you get it down at such a low height of cut. And then the install of it is going to be a lot of work too, because you got to build a profile for it. You got to select your seed for it, and usually for cool season it'd be bent grass, and probably for you guys it'd be like the ultra dwarf Bermuda, I think, or turf or whatever the really short Bermuda is.
I think ultra dwarf.
Ultra dwarf, yeah. And I know that seed, for at least for bent grass, is pretty expensive, so you got to consider that. It waters differently, so if you were just going to put it in the middle of your yard, you can't kind of just run it with your normal irrigation, because that won't work. More disease problems when you start getting down to those lower height of cuts, and then it's got to be on like a different kind of fertilizer program. You have to top dress it. There's just a whole slew of things that you probably wouldn't think about until you have one that you would have to do, and then you'd probably be at the point where you're like, this is a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. And it's funny, you talk about like disease and fungicide. So because of the lower cutting heights, you're injuring the grass more. What kind of what does your fungicide program look like on greens? Is it, I mean, you can't get by with 1 or 2 apps, I wouldn't think, per season, right? It's probably a more regular thing that you're doing.
Yeah. So we start spraying our first green apps coming up May 1st. And they don't go in the first 2 sprays. So we'll start putting them in June through September. Every other week, we'll use a product called Concert 2, which is chlorthalonil and a propiconazole mix. And then we use Daconil ZN, which is just chlorthalonil. And every other week, we switch those off.
Wow. So every 2 weeks you're spraying fungicide. Yeah. So it's a
So, and that's just for preventative.
yeah, I can see it. So you just don't. It's just like anything else. Like, it's funny. A friend of mine, it's a local guy. I was talking to him about as your heights of cut go lower. So yeah, as it goes lower, you gotta you have to start using fungicides. You have to do. You have to your fertilization program has to be more on point. He says, Ron, the best way I can describe it is this. He says, the lower you go, it's not more the lower you go, the more you have to mow. The lower you go, the more you have to do. Like there's everything. Everything just starts to mushroom because turf grass does not like being. It's not like living at those heights. If you're trying to push it, it just takes a lot more to make it happen.
Yep, it really does.
Nice. All right, cool. So guys, we have a super chat here. Let me one from here, Mr. Luis Ayarpareño. He says, "Good evening. A little late driving to and stopped to send a chat. Ron, the 12024 was amazing. Starting to see great results within 3 days. I sent you pics. Yes, I'll show those, Luis. And again, with you I think you are on top now, so we will make you the show sponsor. And to cheat, I'm going to copy and paste I'm going to copy your name. Found something new. Technology. You think me as a technology guy would be easier, right? I'd be like, hey, you figure out to copy and paste this out of the comment instead of typing it in each time. But no. All right. So there you go, sir. Your name in lights, whatever it means to you. Thank you so much for the super chat.
Super chat received.
Really do appreciate it. So guys, if you guys want to see what Luis is talking about, so he has cool season turf, cool season grass, and he sent me pictures from April 7th up until April 19th. So you guys always tell you guys, as your lawn is developing, as it's doing well, take pictures so you can see what the progress it's made. So this is what the lawn looked like in April 7th. Not bad. I mean, you can see he's out there, he's watering it. Compared to his neighbors, he's definitely way ahead of the game. And it's another picture from April 7th. And then we looking pretty good, right? Not bad. And especially compared to the grass that's dormant, we move to the this is when he applies, I believe, the 12-0-24, the stress. And so you can see this is on the 14th. This is a week later. Not bad. I mean, it's definitely greening up. It's definitely coming in. That's looking. I mean, here's the thing. I am not a cool season grass guy, but you can't argue with that. That's looking pretty good.
Nice,
and then finally. I'm sorry, no, this is the 14th, and this was the 19th. This is the 19th, number 1, the 19th, number 2, and then the last picture, the 19th, number 3. So if we're going through them again, this is the 7th. This is a week later on the 14th with it greening up. And then this is how it looked 2 days ago on the 19th, which looks incredible. And again, it's one thing to say it looks awesome, right? Which it does look incredible. But if you look at the grass, the lawns around it, that's the thing. You can see the contrast of how much better that looks compared to his neighbor's lawn. So keep it up, sir. What he's using is so he's got Humic Max. He has not Humic. He has Essential G, but he is also using the 12-0-24, that stress fertilizer. And I'll show you guys that really quick. This is what he is running on his lawns, in case you guys are interested. And this is actually what I woke up my lawn with. This is what I started out with to begin the season. So a higher potassium fertilizer. This is what he woke up the lawn with, and the results speak for themselves. It looks pretty awesome. This is a great product. I'm really happy that Lebanon allowed us to carry this, because in the past, when we tried a couple years ago, they were like saying, nope, it's pretty much just only for greens, and there's no, we don't, apparently they sold to golf courses. So trying to convince them to sell it to the DIY space was not an easy proposition. So let me get them back up here. There we go. So there you go. Awesome, Luis. The lawn looks great. Keep going. The season's only starting out, so it's going to get even better as you progress. So good stuff. Cool. All right. So of course the next hard part is where we left off. So guys, one thing I wanted to share with you guys as well is there's a new blog post that was released today. We're entering the season for top dressing, at least if you're in the Southeast. And so there was a new blog post that was released today on how to top dress your lawn. I try to make it as simple as possible, 6 easy steps. And if you want to see that, I'll post it here in the chat. But if you want to see what that looks like, I can go back here real quick and show you. So you go to guides and then blog, and then the newest one, showing off the earth and turf machine, is how to top dress your lawn, a complete guide. It's not terribly long. Talks about the benefits behind top dressing, why you want to do it, how it helps with thatch, why it's important, when to top dress. the top dressing mix options for either buying it or creating your own, tools you're going to need, and talks about scalping kind of cut that I like to go to whenever I top dress, core aeration, which I like to do when I top dress, fertilizer, and then just works through it. Again, 6 easy steps. If you guys are interested, check it out, because I know a lot of you guys are going to be doing that this time of year. We're getting to that time, and yeah, so I will post that in the chat for you, so you guys can check that out as well. You know, Devin, so when it comes to top dressing, as far as the type of sand that you use on, I guess, greens, I'm not sure if I'm not sure how much of the course you guys top dress regularly, or if you, what do you do annually, but like as far as like the kind of sand you use on greens versus tees versus fairways, is there a variation? Or I imagine there's a frequency difference, but like, what is there a difference in sand that you use?
So for greens, when we top dress, we'll use a USGA spec-based sand that matches the same sand that's in your profile. So that one's a special one. And then as far as tees and approaches, we'll top dress those twice a year in conjunction with our aeration. And then we'll just use masonry sand for that, or we'll actually use the same sand that we use in our bunkers. It's a little more coarse, that kind of gives you a little more soil structure in the native soil.
Gotcha. So you tend to use from what I was reading, because I really started digging into this as far as like what the USGA was recommending. So as far as using a finer sand or USGA sand on the greens, one, to make sure the profile stays as consistent, but also I guess as far as a recovery standpoint, like it's going to a lot of the greens will recover faster versus using like a coarser sand, like a masonry sand.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
And I don't know if this will work. If I can send you these, I should have done this earlier. If I would have known, if I send you these on Instagram, if these will work. We just did our aeration, and we did solid tines, 3/4 inch at 2 by 3 spacing. So pretty big size hole. And it was about 3 to 4 cubic yards per green of sand we put down. So I've got, if I can send it to you.
If you can email them to me, because I can't, because right now I'm on Instagram broadcasting, so I can't actually get to them. But you have my, I think you have my email, so if you can email them, that should work.
Here, I'll send that to you real quick.
Cool.
It's
well,
pretty,
guys,
pretty cool to see it.
Yeah, so guys, that post is in the chat right now as far as top dressing. I got a message here, another super chat from France. Let's see here, from LKN. Thank you so much. He says, "Hi, big fan from France. Selective weed killers are not allowed here. What is the best option to get my lawn clean? Thanks, Nico." All right, so if you don't have access to the selective herbicides we have in the US, you just have to go. I don't have my weeding tool here, but you're gonna have to go back to just like the natural practices, right? So you can manually weed, which is a way to remove the weeds from your lawn. If you want to spot spray, you can use like vinegar and salt. Like that's a non-selective way of killing weeds. So you don't want to spray that all over your lawn. You want to spray that just on the weeds. I've got a blog post on that topic that will help you out, LK, and that talks about that, about natural ways of taking care of how to kill weeds naturally. So I'm going to put that in the chat here for you. So let me see here, at LK. I can't do your name because you got like special characters in it, but I mean, killing weeds naturally. But then outside of that, once you get them gone, like one of the best ways to keep weeds at bay, all right, there we go. At bay is by growing a thick and healthy stand of grass. You know what I mean? So if you think about your lawn, as like a crop, or as basically that's what it is, a crop that you're trying to grow, right? And for in my case, what I want to grow is Bermuda grass. That's what I'm trying to keep in my lawn. I don't want anything else in my lawn other than Bermuda grass. So if you're able to mow your lawn regularly, and by regularly, I mean at least twice a week, like that's the barrier for entry if you want to really have a good looking lawn. That is going to encourage more growth. You know what I mean? It's kind of counterproductive. You think if you mow your lawn less, it's going to thicken up. It's actually the other way around. The more you mow it, the more you're going to encourage growth. And once you go through the trouble of using, eliminating the weeds by pulling them manually or by spraying them using like a non-selective option that I linked in that article. Again, that's non-selective, so don't spray your entire lawn with that. That's when your regular mowing, your regular mowing practices are going to really help that lawn to thicken up, and it's going to make it harder for weeds to establish in your lawn. So like that's going to have to be your approach, given the fact that you can't and don't have access to herbicides. And here's the thing: you look at some of the great lawns in the UK. They have the same things, right? They have very limited access to herbicides, and there are a lot of awesome looking lawns in the UK, but they just take more cultural practices, right? Their mowing is on point. They do a lot of things just to try and get the turf to be as healthy as possible, which makes it difficult for weeds to even establish. What do you think, Devin? If you had to, as far as like as far as how to get, you can't use any herbicides. Like what other tips would you offer as far as like getting a great lawn and keeping it weed free?
Yeah, I'd say probably just have good, sound agronomic practices. Mowing as much as you can, proper fertilization the most you can, water properly, and then you give the turf everything it needs, and then that pretty much becomes your weed barrier. Kind of an example in my old yard, I never did like pre-emergent herbicides, and I would only have to spot spray maybe once or twice a month, maybe 3 or 4 dandelions here or there.
Mm-hmm.
So if you give the turf everything you need, it should be able to outcompete the other thing. And like you said, the more you mow it, the more dense it comes, and then it shades that canopy. So then it makes it harder for any weed seed to germinate.
Nice. Yep. So like most things, it all comes back down to mowing, right? So you can all the stuff you apply to your lawn. Like I would say, the biggest difference between a golf course and most residential lawns, outside of having people that are professionals that are taking care of it and looking at it every day, is the mowing frequency. They just cut them. They cut them way more often with equipment that is always sharp. You know what I mean? That's if you want to break it down, the biggest difference. That's the difference between a residential lawn and courses from a standpoint of what creates that awesome appearance.
Yep.
So good stuff. All right, so we got Archie Amos up next. I got your pictures, Devin. I'm going to pull those in. I see the pooch on there. I'm gonna get these pulled down. All right, so it's from Archie. He says, "Evening, young man. Aeration complete about an hour ago. Essential G and biostimulants all went down. Rain and lake widely forecasted, so didn't do top dressing. But as soon as the rain is done or going down. Nice. I like it. Sounds like a plan. Sounds like a plan. Yeah, I mean, aeration this time of year, guys, is a great time. Is a great thing to do as your lawn begins to wake up. It's a good way to relieve compaction in your lawn. It's a great way to fast track, if you're doing any kind of organic materials, if you're doing like a compost top dressing or you're doing Essential G, to fast track it. So I am a big fan of aeration in the springtime.
Yep.
In the springtime. All right, so I'm going to get another question up here, and I am going to let me see. The next question we got here is from Franken Lawn. He says, "Have Central Alabama lawn that is 40% green due to disturb the soil. The prodiamine did not prevent weeds." Okay, so you apply prodiamine, but it didn't prevent the weeds. "Is there a post-emergent option that is safe for use on Bermuda and Zoysia during green up?" So yes, I mean, so here's the thing. When it comes to spraying herbicides, I am a big fan of spraying them when the lawn is either dormant or when it's fully green. So if you're looking at like options like Celsius and Certainty, these are very gentle from a standpoint of being effective against weeds, but not being least likely to injure your turf grass. If you can wait until the lawn it transitions more out of dormancy, then you could use these without any hit to green up. I have sprayed this especially on my neighbor's lawn, the one not last year. I've used this combination when it was transitioning, and his lawn still greened up fine. So it's not like you're going to your lawn's going to be at June and it's not green if you spray herbicides on it. But remember, even herbicides that are labeled as safe for use for insert your grass type. So both this combination is safe for Bermuda and Zoysia. It's still a stressor. You know what I mean? It still introduces a little bit of stress to the plant that it's air quotes safe for. So if you can wait a bit longer till the lawn has woken up more, then by all means you can go after it with post-emergent herbicides. Again, what I would recommend is this combination, Celsius and Certainty. The nice thing with Certainty is that it's great for Poanua, which is a pretty tough weed to kill, but it also is good for sedges. So as the temperatures get hotter, figure late May, June timeframe, and sedges start becoming more prevalent. That's where Certainty is good for that. And then as far as your broadleaf herbicide, it's really tough to beat Celsius. You know what I mean? It covers a ton of weeds. Pretty much, if it's a broadleaf weed, Celsius likely will take care of it. And this combination together does a great job. And the nice thing is you can spray it across a broad temperature range. So now or in summer when it's warmer, you can still spray this with very little chance of injuring your turf if you follow the label rate. So if that is what I would go with, Frankenlawn, if it were me. I'll show you really quick where you can get it. If you go to the golf course lawn store, go to shop, and then go to Weed Killer, it is there. We have a kit that has both of them. Or you can buy them a la carte. This is the best deal if you're going to buy Celsius Certainty, the marker dye, and the surfactant. But again, it's really your call which way you want to go, and that is what I would recommend for taking care of weeds as a post-emergent herbicide in warm season turf. Now, here's the thing I want to cover as well too. It's a good point because you brought this up. So when it comes to pre-emergent, remember, outside of, I mean, even you take some of the best ones like a Spectacle Flow, right, which is very good against Poanua. Pre-emergent is not 100% coverage. Even if you apply it at the correct time, perfect conditions, water it in, it does not mean that you're not going to have any weeds at all in your lawn. It means that the amount of weeds you're going to have is going to be substantially reduced. But it's not like there's very pre-emergents that have 100% coverage. Spectacle Flow is pretty close when it comes to POA, but it's not. But even then, just have to keep in mind that, especially if you're coming from a situation where your lawn has weeds have flourished for years and years and years, it's going to be a process to get to the point to where they are, they're a lot less prevalent in your lawn, even using pre-emergent. It's a good question. So on the courses, do you guys use pre-emergent at all, or I guess if you do, any particular areas?
Yep. So I was actually going to say, Franklin's question actually kind of brings up a good point that probably not a ton of people think about, because you're putting down your pre-emergent same time as you're aerating, and you definitely don't want to put your pre-emergent down and then go out the next weekend and poke 1,000 holes in your yard, because you're just essentially putting holes in that barricade you've already put down. So just something to think about. Always aerate first, and then give it a little bit time to heal up, and then seal that over the top. We actually run into that too. We do spray barricade, prodiamine at the course. It actually worked out good this year. Springtime, we do our front 9 fairways for pulling cores, and then in the fall time, we'll do our back 9. And with the way the soil temps and stuff have worked this year, we were able to get them all done before we're doing our spray, because soil temps aren't where they need to be yet. But we've run into that before, where we got to skip a hole or vice versa, depending on how the application date comes up or what we got punching. Because we still got a narrow window to work in with golf and everything still. So sometimes we got to skip one or the other depending on what we want or what we don't want. So kind of an interesting thought.
Very cool. All right, so I got your pictures here. Let me show everyone here really quick. You were talking about the work that you were doing. So we'll do the first one here. So what are we looking at here? This is the
finished result. Yep. So that's after it's been top dressed, punched, and then drug 4 times with a diamond drag, and then we have a broom attachment that goes on a triplex, and then we'll water everything in for about 10 minutes. So that's after we've finished our aeration on our greens.
Cool. So let me see here. Is this our current? Goodness gracious, that's a green.
Yep. So that's the top dressing before we go over it with the Procore 648. So that's what it looks like. How much sand we put down.
So you guys beach it, man. That's a ton of sand. And then finally, of course, we have to have an honorable mention, Mr. Max. Is it Max?
Max. Yep.
Yeah, Max, you got your buddy. He's running the equipment there. Yeah. And again, finally, as you said, the final result is this. So very cool. So with that much sand, you put down that much sand on the green, you drag it in. How long for recovery? I mean, to where it's playable.
So we did that 2.5 weeks ago. Should have been 3 weeks ago, but Mother Nature kind of messed around with us with weather. Usually 3 to 4 weeks we can get them fully healed up. We did a spray for our second app of Proxy for POA seed head, and then we threw 0.2 of N in for that just to kind of help recover. But with 35-degree soil temps, nothing's healing. But if it was ideal, probably 3 to 4 weeks they'd be healed up, and you wouldn't tell.
Gotcha. Cool. Very, very cool stuff. All right, so we have another super chat. Let me get it up here from Mr. LG. I knew this was a matter of time for you guys. You guys have awakened the Kraken. Here we go.
Super chat received.
He says, LG, Archie, I've not even started drinking yet, bruh. By the way, this show needs more singing cats. Okay, I'll take that, LG. All right, so here you go, sir. Thank you so much for the super chat. Your name in lights. You know what? Because you're special, now I got to go find this sun emoji. Can you do me a favor? Can you not do the sun? Can we get rid of the sun emoji? Because I have to go make this special thing just for you. I got to be extra, just because you want this. And there you go. So there you go. Your name in lights for whatever that means to you. Devin's like, I know what's coming. All
That's
right, so
funny.
cool. Lots of good info on that. All right, so thanks for the support, LG. Appreciate all the love and support. All right, Tony Israel is up next. He says, "Sup, Ron, coming to you from Columbia, South Carolina. What's the secret to getting that deep green look?" I'm gonna ask. You know what? I'm gonna punt this one. I'm gonna say, Devin, what do you think? So, if someone wants that deep green look. What would you say? How would you say go about it?
I'll probably use iron.
Yeah, iron. So yeah, so I mean, so proper nutrients, like make sure the lawn's fertilized properly, and then iron is going to give you that nice, that deep green. You know what I mean? It's is going to help it really help it pop. My thoughts on it are that if you focus on just creating great soil, right? So make sure you're soil testing, you're fertilizing according to your soil test results, and you're mowing regularly. It's really difficult to not have really good looking turf. You know what I mean? Like green grass is a byproduct of great soil. But yeah, I mean, if I will say this, if like you got like a barbecue coming over, friends or family coming over, if you can get your iron, like you can spray a product like Nutrizol that has some iron in it, 3-4 days prior. I mean, that's when it'll give you a nice little kicker as far as a deeper green. But that's only going to last, a week or so. It's not going to last that long. So,
Yep.
So what about you guys? Whenever you guys are getting ready for a tournament, as far as any tricks that you guys use to try and get the color better, or do you guys do an extra iron app or do anything to help boost the color, or you just keep it with your program as normal?
So it's actually pretty funny. We are doing an extra app this year. The way our big tournament is this year, it falls a week off of our normal spray day. So usually we're able to spray that Monday before the tournament, and the tournament will be Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
So this year, our main spray is the week before. So we're going to do our regular spray, and then I'm going to half a couple rates for some of the stuff we use that give us really good color. And then that next week coming up, I'll take that other half and then add that in. It'll be kind of like a 0.5 spray in the calendar,
Right.
just for a little bit of color. And then we use a product that's kind of like a sunscreen for turf. It's a pigment product from Harold's Turf, and we use that in the summertime, which mostly it gives you a little bit of color and it lasts for about a week before it wears off. But it's mostly, it just reduces like your ET on the plant. It essentially just kind of creates a barricade, and plant doesn't lose as much water, is essentially what that's for. But it just happens to be a green dye. And I'll go on the record, I hate dye products. That's the only place we use it, is that one thing. But I hate using dyes or any kind of dyes.
Right, because it feels like not it's cheating, but I mean it's just like you feel like it's no, I get it. And as far as that product goes, could you apply it throughout the entire season, or is it something that you have to? I guess, what are there limits as far as how much that you can really use, or as far as that goes?
Yeah,
the sunscreen.
Yeah, we start using it in like June, when it starts getting like really, really hot and dry is when we'll use it, and then probably August we'll take it out. So the first month and the last month of our spray calendar doesn't have that product.
Nice, cool. All right, Dwayne throws up and says, "Hey Ron, happy Friday. Hope all went well with your Friday event." It did. I showed you guys the pictures and everything. If you guys want, I'll post a picture after I'm done with the show tonight on Instagram. I try not to pollute Instagram with like personal stuff because it's mainly about lawn care. But if you guys want, I'll post one there. I'll make sure the lawn's in the background so you can see. So it's kind of lawn care related. We'll do something like that. All right, Joseph Roberts up. He says, "Welcome, Devin. Good to see you back. Definitely
Glad to be back.
Yeah, man. Awesome to have him back in the back in the seat, back in the chair, taking questions." Okay, guys. So one question we had from last week, and I had to look this up, is around hammerhead worms. So I think it was Tom Halfenkamp, if I can find it here. He had a question saying, let me get Rod Joseph off here. He says, "Hammerhead worms, is there an effective side for these guys?" So first of all, I had to look up what hammerhead worms even were. And then once I did, I hope I never have them in my lawn. They're horrible. They look like, they're kind of like what this sounds like. I mean, if I can get a picture of them here, but like kind of like a hammerhead shark. It looks like that, but like a worm. And the nasty thing about them is these guys are predatory. Like they actually will eat earthworms. They're just kind of jerks as far as just what they will do to the beneficial creepy crawlies in your lawn. And yeah, so as far as taking care of them or eliminating them, I did not find a side that is nothing like a Celloprint, in other words, that is designed to specifically target them. Not that I could find anyway. There might be, but what I did come across was suggestions for using like a citrus oil, using neem oil. If you have a widespread problem, you could use boric acid. So you could cast boric acid over your lawn, because apparently these types of hammerhead worms do not like acidic soil. The negative of that is you're basically acidifying your soil, so you're lowering the pH. So it's kind of, you're fixing one problem, but you're creating another. So just but yeah, if you want to see what they look like, and again, hopefully it doesn't gross anybody out, but these guys are just, while earthworms are nice, these guys not so much. I mean, look at these guys. They're mean looking. Look at that. It's nasty, right? And the thing is, they actively target earthworms. They eat, they go after, they secrete like a poison that will paralyze earthworms, and they're just mean. They're not pleasant. So yeah, hopefully none of you guys have those in your lawn. I mean, I know Tom asked about it, and I didn't know the answers, so I looked it up. And now that I know about them, I hope I never have them in my lawn. They're pretty nasty looking. Have you ever had to deal with these at all, Devin, hammerhead worms?
No, I'd never actually heard of them until you told me before the show started. I actually had to look them up myself. But yeah, I'm with you. I hope I never do have to see them in person.
Yeah, they're pretty ugly looking. All right, so we have so let me also acknowledge here. So I got super chats taken care of. LG is also, as of today, pretty cool as well. He says he's been a member. No, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong message. It was where he's been a show member, or a member of the channel for 15 months. It has not come across mine. There we go. So LG celebrates 15 months of membership. I didn't pick the emoji. Apparently YouTube gave me the sun emoji for being a member of your channel for over a year. So there you go. Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much, LG. I appreciate it. Thank you for all the kind words. I will stop harassing you then about the sun emoji. And just because it's you, I'll even put on some Tango Bolero for you while we look for the next question. Let's see. Where did we stop? We did Frankenlawn, Tony, and okay, yeah. So this question has already been asked. I'm not sure if you were here, Dwayne, but it was OK Lawn Guy says, how do you take care of POA in a cool season lawn? I mean, Devin already answered this earlier, but it may have been too early in the show, and we got 120 people in here now, so I'm not sure, Devin, if you want to revisit that again real quick.
Yeah, sure. So cool season lawn, you pretty much are just kind of forced to deal with it. There's no products that are available to homeowners that you can spray to treat it. I think maybe it was 3 or 4 years ago, homeowners used to be labeled paclobutrazol, used to be able to use in home lawns, which controls POA, but unfortunately for whatever reason, the EPA took that off, so that's only for commercial use now. So you're kind of just forced to deal with it, and if you really hate it that much, you kind of got to plug it out and replace it with whatever type of variety you do want, or just sod cut it out, or physically manually remove it.
Yeah. So just which stinks. That's not great options, but there you go. So just try and prevent it. Use pre-emergent, and I mean, it'll help some, but I mean,
I guess
even prodiamine. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, you could use prodiamine if you time it right, but it'll still come up. It's like the cockroach of the plant world. It'll live anywhere and always finds a way to come back.
Yeah, Poe is pretty nasty. I mean, this year I've had, maybe a handful, maybe a handful of spots in my entire lawn. But again, what I'm using is the pre-emergent that you can't really use on cool season grass. This stuff. If Bear can ever figure out how to make Spectacle Flow, make this for cool season grass, you guys, this is the bee's knees. This is what you want to keep POA out of your lawns. Really, it's a very expensive product, but it's expensive because it's worth it. It does an excellent job against POA. You can. I
was gonna say, let me look really quick. I know there's a product from Bayer that controls it in cool season, but I think it's very expensive, and I'm not sure if it's labeled for homeowner use.
For homeowner use, yeah.
They use it up in the North Course and Green Surrounds because they're a brand new course, so they don't have a bunch of it, so they just kind of spot treat it. What is the name of that product?
Yeah. While you're looking for it, I will. I'll look for the next question. Hey guys, in Instagram, thanks for coming to hang in. We got Sunny Bermuda, Off-Road NV, Sway, Say, hey guys, thanks. And again, if you guys want to join the show or want to see or want to hear what Devin is saying, unfortunately, you're gonna have to come over on YouTube or join on Facebook or Twitter, because that is where we're multicasting or multi-streaming to, right? Multicasting to. So you can't. Unfortunately, I don't have that plugin, have that working on Instagram as yet. So if you want to hear what he's talking about, which is a lot of great stuff, come on over to the YouTube.
All right,
Come
so
on
here you
over
go.
to YouTube.
I found it right here. I do believe you can use it on residential use, but 2.5 gallons is about $555. It's called Progress.
Progress. Okay, I mean, that's not cheap, but it's not. I mean, it's not horrid. I mean, that's not. It's called Progress.
Yep, Progress EC.
Progress EC. I haven't EC. I don't know. Let me see. You can.
Which I guess we did use that when I was in New York. That's been a long time since I've used that. Kind of forgot about it.
Okay, I have to do some digging. Like, I'm not seeing it here on, or you may have to email it to me, like what is like the spelling of it, or where to find it or whatever. But yeah, so
yeah, here,
looks like okay. All right, cool. So next up we have Randall Lard. He says, "Happy Friday, Ron. Getting some rain in Alabama. It will get to you overnight." Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. So if you guys are watching Lee from Real Rollers, he was doing the work today, or not today, this week, bidding down his the Miramichi Organic. He's running that on the turf park, as well as he also did his first pre-emerge. I'm not his first primo spray, so his growth regulator spray as well. So he's just waiting for the rain this weekend to water it in. But the turf park is looking awesome. If you guys have not seen how the turf park looks, actually, you know what? I'm going to I'll link it here for you guys. Like a little short, it's like 30 something seconds. You guys got to check that out, because it's looking incredible. It's looking right. He is looking for like fire this year. So turf park status. How about that? We'll just do that. So good stuff. All right. So we have a question from Dwayne's World for Devin. He says, "Hello, Devin. Do you have any experience with dwarf fescue? Can it be real mode? Is it heat tolerant? What say you?"
So I personally don't have any experience with dwarf fescue, but I do believe Chambers Bay, when they held the Open, God, maybe that was 5 or 8 years ago, was a dwarf fescue green, and obviously they real mowed that. I'm not sure what their height of cut was. I imagine it's probably somewhat heat tolerant, as all fescue is, but not 100%. I don't have any personal experience with it, but I do know it can be real mowed if they had that on their greens for that U.S. Open tournament.
Okay, cool. So there you go. Dwayne. Oh, I found it here. Yeah, Progress. I found it. Yeah, $555. All sales are final. Interesting. Ethofumazate. Ethofumazate is the name of the active ingredient. Interesting. I have to do some digging on that one. Cool. Very cool. See, guys, this is why he comes on, because you learn something new every time. As far as like cool season, he's the guy. All right. Oki Long Guy says, "It's the government controlling the temps." Maybe. I mean, it could be. Let's see. Tillman Waters says, "Devin, have you aerated?" I think they're saying, "Have you aerated as yet?"
If I had my yard in at the new house, then yeah, I probably would have already aerated. And we already have at the course as well.
Okay. So there you go. He's already got it done. And then he says, let me see. Jermaine Battle says, "Ron, are you dealing with Bermuda grass seed heads?" I am not. Not as yet. For me on my lawn, it tends to happen late May, June timeframe, when when the heat really starts to ramp up. That is when I tend to get seed heads for a couple of weeks. It's like a 2 or 3 week problem. And I mean, you can use growth regulator, you can use Primo to help suppress them a little bit. But it's a normal thing. Like it's a stress response for the grass. And in most cases, if you're watering properly, you have good nutrients. It's like 2 to 3 weeks problem, and then the grass says, "Hey, I'm not going to die. I don't need to keep doing this," and it goes back to normal. So, I mean, what about you guys, Devin? So as far as with you having cool season turf on the course, are seed heads a problem, or is it something you guys have to take care of? And if so, what are your strategies for dealing with it?
Sure. Yeah. So on the greens, we'll spray proxy for the POA seed heads. The bent grass won't do any seed head on the greens, just the POA will. And then as far as in the rough and the fairways, we'll get seed head, and it's kind of same thing. You just let it run its course, and we're mowing it pretty regularly, so it's not like they're not tall seed heads. But on bent grass, or not bent grass, bluegrass that's cut at 7/16. That seed head will actually train itself to stop at a certain height, so it stops getting mowed off because it thinks it's fighting for its life. It thinks,
Right.
but yeah. Then eventually, like we'll get him like end of May, early June, like you said, as soon as it starts getting like really warm, and then a couple weeks it kind of flushes out.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't do it at the course unless it times out right. But at my old house, I would do a FERDAP after they started flushing out and weren't coming up as much, just to kind of give that grass a little bounce back because it uses a lot of energy to send those seed heads up.
Gotcha. So it's completely normal, guys. Don't worry about it. And it's again for me, it's like 2 to 3 weeks. It's not a huge deal. I mean, it does look ugly, but and it is true. You'll find that even if you're real mowing, it'd be interesting to find out like how grass adapts. Like I mean, I'm sure it's been studied, but like how adaptive grass really is, because really the seed heads will go up to about your height of cut, and then they won't. They'll just sit
Yeah.
there. You know what I mean? So even if you're cutting shorter and shorter and shorter is not a way to eliminate them altogether. You'll see them less, but it's the grass adapts to it for whatever reason. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So next up we have Dejendra Rajak says, "Happy Friday. Been following you for the last few years. Learned a lot about lawn care. Would you mind sharing what is the cost of maintaining your lawn per year and your total square footage of your lawn?" I can't tell you exactly what it costs to maintain it. It's probably between $1,000 and $2,000. I mean, if I had to guess. And the square footage is 11,500 square feet. If I include like the strips along the near the road, it's a little bit more, but around between 11,500 to 12,000 square feet. So I'll put it this way: a backpack sprayer, the way I use it, covers 4,000 square feet. I have to use three tanks to do my entire lawn, and I still have about between around a gallon left when I'm done. Pretty much every time. So hopefully that helps. So it's around just under 12,000 square feet is what I'm working with. And if I had to guesstimate, somewhere probably between $1,000 and $2,000 a year, maybe something like that, is what I would guess. Which is a big property. You know what I mean? It's not a small lawn. And it all depends on, again, also what you're doing. I do a lot of things between Essential G and the fertilizer program, and I do spoon feeding, and then I also use growth regulator. And because of the mowing heights that I'm at, I do spray preventative fungicides, because if you've never had disease problems in your lawn, the first time you do, you'll start using preventative fungicides because it's just a huge problem. So it's like anything else, man. Like the more you do, the more you get into it, the more you tend to spend like any other hobby. So hope that helps, Dejendra. What about you? If you had to guess, what would you guesstimate you spend for taking care of your lawn, not including like servicing mowers or things like that? Like as far as inputs,
Yeah.
what do you think you had to guesstimate?
Let's see. So my old yard was just a little over 3,000 square feet.
Okay.
Let's see. I'd probably, on products and stuff, I'd say maybe $200 to $400, depending on what I was buying or what I was using that
Okay.
year. So it wasn't too bad. That's actually one thing I'm really excited about at the new house is I'm going to have just shy about 1,500 square feet front and back,
Oh
which
wow.
I'm all right with, since I'm going to be real mowing and I do all that extra stuff anyways. And I
Mhm.
was just thinking the other day, like when I go to mix up a tank now, I used to have to mix multiple tanks to get everything done. Now I can just mix one tank
You're
and
done.
it'll do everything, which will be pretty awesome. So I'm kind of excited about that. But yeah, and then like I said, starting to do real mowing and stuff this year, and then doing top dressing and stuff. I'm all right with not having a massive yard like I used to. And they actually, Colorado is like an arid dry climate, semi-desert. And in new builds, they're actually limiting how much sod you can actually put down
Okay.
going forward, just to save.
Uh-oh. Guys, am I still here? Did we lose Devin? Devin, let me see. If you're here, we lost you. Oh, there we go. Oh, hang on. And I'm back. Okay, you're back.
That was weird. Yeah, just cut me out for a second. But yeah,
No.
anyways, I was just saying it's kind of a semi-arid climate, so they're like utility companies and HOAs and everything are limiting how much sod you can actually have on your plot of land. So, but 1,500 square feet, I'm actually pretty happy with it. It'll still be a pretty good size, but with real mowing and doing all the other stuff that I do for it, and the million of different products I use, I don't have to buy as much. So it'll be fun. I think it'll be even better because I'll have less to work with, which I can try other stuff that is maybe a little more expensive. That now I'm like, all right, this will last me a little longer now.
Sure. I can see that. It's funny because I get email from people sometimes, and they'll be like, "Hey, I've got like an acre. I've got like I've got an acre. I've got 3/4 of an acre, and I want to make the entire thing awesome." I'm like, I said, "Do you have any idea what you're about to spend? You're going to spend a lot
A
of
lot of
money
money.
doing this." I mean,
Yep.
even if you just put fertilizer down, just granular. I mean, you're talking a couple $100, each time, a few $100 each time, just in fertilizer. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not, having a big property sounds like a lot of fun, until you have to take care of it. So, I mean, having a smaller lawn is very attractive because like to your point, it's easier to take care of. You can mow it more often. There's, it's easy to make a small area look incredible. Kind of like the greens. I mean, it's part of
Yeah.
the game
Exactly.
of golf, obviously, but greens, if you had to do what you do to greens to the entire course, I mean, who knows what a round of golf would cost then, right? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's, yeah, smaller areas, there's definitely some benefits to that. Very, very cool. All right, so OK Lon says that's terrible news. I'm not sure. It says out of control. He needs to cut his grass. Oh, you're talking about probably about Robert's Robert's pictures. Yep. No, I got you. And guys, also to represent the warm season grass guys, cool season grass right now is coming into its own. It's looking incredible right now. But the warm season guys, I got some pictures from Matthew. He sent me some pictures here, and this is what his lawn is looking like. So it's waking up.
Oh,
Stripe
nice.
action is looking on point. It's not bad. I mean, it doesn't have the deep color as yet as it will here in a month or so. But for for mid-April, not bad. Looking good, man.
I like those beds around the trees. That looks nice.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, and if you notice, guys, one thing you notice about the trees, if we scroll in here a little bit, I can't zoom in, can I? No, I can't. Is you'll notice that how he's got the canopy raised a bit on the trees. I'm not sure if he did that intentionally, but having having the trunk, like a lot of bare trunk, to where those leaves are up a bit higher, that's allowing the grass to do okay around that. Now we'll see once it starts to really warm up and the trees begin to get a fuller how the grass does, but that's a good example of how you do that. And you see the area, he's not trying to grow grass right directly under the base of the tree. He's surrendered that area to a mulch bed, which is in my opinion what you do. That's the way to go.
Nice.
As far as trees and grass, especially if it's Bermuda grass, because Bermuda and shade don't really work together. All right, cool. So next up we have Mr. Dalvin Larry. All right, he says, Ron and Devin, what indicator should I be looking for to start verticutting, or is it more of a time-based thing to do? I've been turf raking every other mow and bagging everything. So what say you? What do you guys, when it comes to you guys doing your verticutting, I know you guys are trying to reduce how much of that you're doing on the course, but is it a visual thing? You look at it and say, hey, we need a verticut, or do you have like a calendar that drives it? Like how do you guys go about it?
Yeah, for verticutting, it's kind of more of a visual thing. If I guess if you're focusing on a green, it'd be a little different than a home lawn. If the leaf blades start getting a little fatter, a little thicker, they kind of are starting to lay each other. You can kind of see the grain in the turf. It's kind of some indicators that it's probably time to do a verticut on them. But for a home lawn, I guess your timing for it would be you'd 100% want it actively growing before you go in and do that, because if it's still kind of waking up and not really going yet and you go in and get really aggressive with it, it's going to be not very happy and probably going to take longer to recover. So I'd say make sure it's fully grown and you're like kind of on a regular mowing schedule, and you've at least got some type of fertility down, whether you're spoon feeding or doing granular, so there's something in the soil to kind of aid that recovery.
Sure. Yeah. Now for me now, guys, you guys know last year I got the Owlet. I forget exactly when I got it, but for me, I would say starting in the end of next month, so end of May, end of June, July, and end of August. So monthly, I find like that's a good cadence for verticutting on a residential lawn. So if you're out there, like you're doing a golf course lawn program where you're out there, you're mowing it several times per week, you're using your growth reg. Doing it once a month is you're not going to be stressing the turf out too much. It's not going to look bad when you're done, especially if you set the verticut up properly. And it's going to make the turf look more consistent. What I tend to find is this, right? If you scalp a lawn in the springtime, so like say like last month you did your scalp, and you just reel mow it and you're reel mowing it and you're reel mowing it, you're mowing it a couple times a week like you're supposed to. when you get to like mid-June-ish, maybe late June, you're going to start having scalping problems in areas that you didn't before. You know, because the turf starts to get so thick and really all woven in together that it just the mower starts to float instead of the front roller sitting on the actual soil on the actual ground, and it creates cutting
Yep.
problems. So once per month, I think starting the end of May, you may be able to go till like mid-June to start to do the first one, but really end of May, end of June, end of July, that's a good, for me, I think that's a good cadence for verticutting on a residential lawn if you're real mowing and doing all this other stuff. So yeah, good stuff. All right, so we have another super chat. Let me get down here and grab it really quick. Cedric has taken over.
Super chat received.
He says, congrats on winning the gold. Have some lemonade on me. Ron is a weapon of mass destruction. It's all in fun, man. I mean, it's all people that I see them a couple times a year. We compete and we also do testing together and everything. So it's a lot of fun. I mean, karate's there's a lot of camaraderie in it. So yeah, it's not like Bloodsport. If any of you guys are old enough to watch like that movie from Jean-Claude Van Damme way back when, it's not like the Kumite, not like that, you know. So I mean, you want to win, obviously, but you know, it's still all in fun. We come as friends, we leave as friends. In between, not friends. All right. So thank you so much for the super chat, Cedric. There you go. Your name in lights, whatever it means to you. Appreciate all the love and support. All right. So now we have to go find where we left off, which is always the hardest part whenever I scroll down. All right. So next up, No Name says, Robert, looks amazing. Your lawn must be extremely level. He has top dressed it. I want to say, Robert, if you can chime in, if you're here, I want to say last year was the first time he top dressed his lawn. He went, he did a good top dress on it, but I believe last year was the first time, and then this year he's doing it again, which tends to happen. You do it once, and you're like, oh, it can get even better, and you get in this point of diminishing returns. You just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. So that's a good question. So Devin, so we're entering the time of top dressing. What are the season of doing it anyway in the Southeast? What are the big benefits, would you say, of top dressing your lawn? Like, what do you get for all this hard work you're putting in?
So just helps with soil structure, water retention, could be drainage depending on what product you're using. If you've got a really clay soil, if you're putting sand on, can help with drainage. Nutrients, makes nutrients more available depending on what your native soil is. Dilutes thatch, which is also very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Smooths out your canopy, especially if you're reel and mowing. That's very, very important. Like when I do my yard, once I get it knocked down to the height I want, I'm gonna top dress it. Which I'm also glad to not have a ton of space to top dress, because it's gonna be a lot of work. But yeah, I'd say like water retention, drainage, if that's an issue, that'll help. Nutrient availability kind of plays with the CEC in the soil. To make nutrients more available, could help with your rooting. It's pretty beneficial, and yeah, like I said, organic, it dilutes that organic thatch layer.
Nice. Yeah. For me, the biggest benefit that I didn't anticipate, because when I did it for the reason that most of you guys probably do, it's right. Hey, I want that smooth lawn, I want that pool table look. But the biggest benefit that I got from top dressing, and I didn't really go into it with that expectation, is how much it helped drainage. Like before, it would rain heavily, and my lawn, like, so you guys have seen some of the pictures I posted, or small videos I posted, and the water would sit on the lawn for like over a day, like a day and a half. It'd be sitting there like this big puddle just sitting on the lawn. And after the first time after I top dressed it, it just pulls water away from the surface like nobody's business. So if for no other reason, if you do it for that, it's worth it. It's worth it. Cool, guys. So we have 125 people in the live stream right now. If you guys would not mind hitting the like button ever so gently, it costs absolutely nothing. We're only at 81 likes. We can do better than that. It's a free way to support the channel. We got Devin here coming in. You got professional greenskeeper coming and taking the time to come hang out. So just get those likes up, guys. It doesn't cost anything. All right, next up, LKN is back. He says selective weed controllers in France are now forbidden. What would be the best alternative? New version of Roundup is a disaster. So I already answered that one, LKN. That is an interesting question. Devin. So as far, a lot of other countries, like you look at like Canada, like a lot of herbicides are banned. Overseas. Have you seen any inkling of that coming here? I mean, I know that we rely on them quite a bit for both, like for crop, like actually the food we eat, for keeping weeds out, and that kind of thing. Have you heard anything that leads us to be less of that?
Yeah, actually, so I used to be on. There's the national. It's called the GCSAA, or the Golf Course Superintendents Association of America, and then there's chapters throughout the whole U.S. We're the Rocky Mountain Golf Course Superintendents Association, and we actually have a Capitol Day. They do it on a national level too, where if bills are passing, we'll have members of our board directors who go and lobby on behalf of golf and the green industry for if they want to ban like certain products and stuff. And you go there and you give them your spiel of why you need this and why it's beneficial and if it's used properly, and then they go about their business and they vote it or don't vote it or whatever they want to do. And I think a lot of the times you see that where at one point a product could be labeled for a homeowner use, like chlorthalonil and paclobutrazol are great examples, and then they'll tweak those just so it's used in professional uses only, because for whatever reason they're worried about either leaching into the environment or health effects for surrounding areas, and they'll just tweak that labeling so they know it's used more in a proper setting, I guess, is where they government agencies would want that used. So I think kind of you go there and lobby why it still should be used for golf, and then they make their adjustments accordingly to whatever they decide. So we do that. It's called a Day at the Capitol, and they also do that on the national level where they'll go to the Capitol in Washington.
Nice. Cool. Well, it's good. It's good that you guys are still able to keep the products that you need, and really, I'll be honest, like for residential lawns, we're pretty spoiled. We have access to pre-emergence, but even as far as post-emergent herbicides, we have a pretty good selection that takes care of a lot of the most troublesome ones. As far as like needing more, I don't know that that's necessarily a thing. But the ones we have now, I think we're in pretty good shape. As far as growth regulator, I'll tell you, like I used to use paclobutrazol like years ago before it got banned by the EPA, and it's an awesome growth regulator. It lasts a bit longer than Primo, but once you learn, and especially if you're able to do the split applications, you still get great results with Primo. So it's not like in many ways just adjusting your program to get similar results. So very good stuff. All right, so Nixa Eagle says, hey, thank God it's Friday. Ron, just email you our soil test results whenever you get the time to review. Thanks. I will take a look at them if you don't mind after the show. Nixa, I promise you I will answer them. I'll email you back tonight with what I think. But I will. But I don't see them here at the top of my inbox, so I will. I'll look at them at the end of the show. One thing we do also had, I want to make sure I get to all these pictures. Matthew McFarland sent us a picture of his lawn while I look for the next question, of showing some double wides. I like it. I like what I'm seeing here. So here is Matt McFarland, assuming it loads up, and that's looking solid, man. I got to tell you, you got the pooch on the lawn. The stripe action is looking good. The colors are looking great. Very good. And you guys will notice. So one question that I got like 2 emails about this week was saying, hey, I have like a privacy fence, and like 3 or 4 feet from the privacy fence, my lawn is like, it's brown. Like it's not, I can't get it to grow. It's thin. I'm like, it just, because of sunlight. Now, if you have a wrought iron fence like what he has here, you see the Bermuda looks awesome. It looks really good right up to the fence because there's plenty of sunlight that can still hit it. But if you have any kind of barrier that shields sunlight, Bermuda's going to have a hard time with it. So good stuff. Good. Thanks for that, Matt McFarland. And thanks for sending those pictures in. All right, so we have another question here from OK Lawn. It's for Devin. He says, hey, Devin, is the only way to completely eradicate POA in my backyard, which is currently a cool season turf-type tall fescue, perennial ryegrass, Kentucky bluegrass, to kill out the entire lawn and go back with warm season turf? So if you don't want to have to deal with POA at all, ever, that seems kind of extreme.
I guess you could. You could get that ProGrass product if you wanted to keep your cool season. But if you wanted to get multiple products that you could spray on it, then that'd probably be your best bet if you wanted warm season turf, since like you got Spectacle and Celsius, which I think Celsius
Certainty will do POA.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking of. So you got more options for warm season than you definitely do with cool season, unfortunately.
But if ProGrass, because I wasn't really familiar with that one. If you want to, you might want to give that a shot. Okay, the lawn guy. I think that that would be far cheaper, even though it's not an inexpensive product. Do some research on it. That would be a lot cheaper than redoing your entire lawn. You know what I mean? I'm sure you've put a lot of time into it, because here's the thing you got to realize, especially if you've top dressed it. Like even if you do an awesome job like prepping the surface and putting sod down, it's still going to need a top dress to get it looking the same way after you're done, after you put sod in. So it's not just, killing off the existing grass, maybe sod cutting it out and putting new grass in, and away you go. There's a whole lot of other stuff that goes in with a major renovation. So if there's a product that can reduce it to where it becomes less of an issue, I would look into that before I go with the full renovation route. Unless you don't like, fescue. I don't know. That's me. That's what I would say. All right, next up we got Gordon. He says, love the content. Just moved into a home from the 90s and its yard is a wreck. A weird mix of Bermuda, St. Augustine, and rye, and a lot of Dallas grass. That's no good. So I guess which of them do you want to keep? That'd be the question to ask first, right? I imagine the Dallas grass you don't want. And if you want the Bermuda and St. Augustine, if you want the warm season grass, I guess what I'm trying to say, and you want the rye and the Dallas grass gone, then Celsius will take care of that. Certainty is labeled to suppress Dallas grass, but really to get rid of it, the best way to get rid of Dallas grass is just to physically remove it. There's not really a cost-effective product that you can use on residential lawns for killing Dallas grass. So I'd say, Gordon, which one do you want to keep? And if you want to keep Bermuda or St. Augustine, then there's a lot of options for getting rid of at least the ryegrass, and the Dallas grass is just time getting out there and digging it out. So Devin, in your career, I guess, have you always worked on cool season turf? Have you ever had a warm season lawn at all, or ever had to work on one?
Nope, I've only ever worked in cool season. So Colorado, 2 courses in Colorado, and then 1 in New York. So, and New York was all Poa and bluegrass and ryegrass as well.
Gotcha. Cool. All right. So Thomas Hanan has a question. It's a good one. He says, Ron, will your lawn ever reach a point it doesn't need to get sand again? It's probably there now, to be completely honest, Thomas. Is just wondering if sand, leveling, top dressing, capping can be done a few times and never needed again. I mean, I'm going to let Devin give his thoughts on this, and I'll tell you what my thoughts on the matter. Or we can do the other way around. What do you think? What's your preference?
I'll go.
Okay.
I would say there's probably a point where for a residential lawn where you wouldn't have to top dress. But I think all the benefits outweigh that, and you certainly don't have to go super heavy each time. You can do a little bit every year and get really good benefits too. So it's not like you got to do a full on level top dress each time you do it.
Yeah. And I find that, so Thomas, I'll tell you what, as far as needing to top dress my lawn, no, I don't have to do it. But here's one thing that I tend to find, again, I'm just being a nerd, is even though I mow the lawn in 2 different directions, I mow it, you guys see mainly the thick wide stripes, but I actually mow it lengthwise. Like last time I mowed it double wides lengthways. Is because I mow the same stripes I mow them the same stripes in the same spot each time. It's slight, but I can see it. You start to get a bit more wear, like where the edges of the rollers are, where you can it's small, but you can start to see I hate to say a rut, but a slight, you can just see wear marks. You can see an area where that's a little bit lower. It's getting a little bit more wear than other parts of the lawn. A light top dressing will correct that. So kind of like what Devin is saying, you don't have to go full tilt and put down, tons and tons of sand all over the entire lawn, but light top dressing annually, I think has a lot of benefits to it. Do you have to do it every year? No. In my opinion, I got the majority of the benefit after the second one, from a standpoint of it just looking smooth. But every year, a light top dressing I find is beneficial. So, yes. So do I need it at this point? No. Will I still continue to do it? Probably, because it just there's a lot of benefits just fixing those little areas that get wear from drainage from the water, the way the water drains in the lawn, also from mowing. So it's just something. Plus, it's just fun. I like doing it. I mean, granted, it's fun after I'm done. 45 minutes in, I'm always cursing myself and saying, why do I do this to myself? But it's worth it afterwards. It's worth it afterwards. All right. Next up, we have Albert Jefferson Jr. He says, guys, coming to you from Memphis. I maintain roughly 4 acres of lawn. Bless your heart. Wow.
Wow.
It is hilly and it is more weeds and grass. I want to mow grass, not weeds. What's my most economical option? So you got 4 acres, Devs. How do you clean up 4 acres to where you can mow it?
I guess what is it? Is it kind of a native blend, or is it actual
I'm not sure
Bluegrass
what
is
kind of grass he has. I mean,
what kind of grass you have. I guess you got to figure out what kind of grass you have, and then you could either do it yourself or hire like a company that comes out and can do a broadcast spray of all that. We use a company like that that does all our native grasses that spray noxious weed in our native, and then they kind of come through and clean it up for you. And then after that, you would just have to do if it's like maintained grass is what you want, then start doing agronomic practices on it. But 4 acres is a lot. We only have 3.5 acres of greens, and that's a lot. And when we spray that, it's 450 gallons of water and mixture to spray all that. So that's
wow.
quite a bit.
Yeah. So I'd say, Albert, I mean, the areas of your lawn that people see when they're pulling up. So like, the front lawn, the area that you want to hang out in and spend time in, like I would say pick up a section of it, like if you can, like less than 20,000 square feet, and really get that nice. If you want to expand it, then you can, because I mean 4 acres is I'll put it to you this way, like a bottle of one bottle of Certainty is at the high rate. Say you're taking care of POA, it's 1 acre, so you'd use like one bottle for an acre. So you need 4 of these to treat 4 acres one time. So it's prohibitive. It can get cost prohibitive pretty quickly to do a major program if you're doing the entire property. Plus, from a mowing standpoint, I don't know what kind of mower you have, but mowing 4 acres is a lot. So if it were me, I'd want to keep it nice. I wouldn't want it to be like all overgrown looking crazy, but I would pick the area around the house, the area where guests are going to hang out, maybe even go up to half an acre. Maybe you go up to half an acre if you really want to, get wild with it. And maintain that and keep, do all your agronomics, all your cultural practices on that to keep that looking as pristine as possible. And everything else, maybe you mow it, whenever you can, and to keep it reasonable, but you can't do the entire thing unless you're going to hire someone to do it, or you've got a ton of money and time and just really like doing it. But for me, maintaining 4 acres myself would become not fun quickly. And I'm someone that loves cutting grass. I love mowing just that's how I relax. But 4 acres would not be fun. So yeah. So hope that helps. Sorry I don't have a better answer for you, but that's that's a lot. 4 acres is not a lot, not a small amount to take care of. All right, next up we got Mr. Papa Mo's Low in the house. He says, "Happy Friday, Ron. Just stopping by to touch the like button in Georgia with the Grands this weekend. Bought the Turfplex, Nutrizolve, and Miramichi Carbon package with me to apply at sister-in-law's lawn tomorrow." Oh, so you're spreading the love around, man. You're a good brother-in-law. You take a care package with you. So how does that work? Do you say, "Hey, I'm just doing some work on my lawn. I know you want to get your lawn nice, and I'm going to bring some stuff to help you out," or did you walk up and say, "Hey, listen, I know I'm coming up there. You can take care of your grass. My eyes can't stand to look at this. So I'm going to bring my stuff. I'm going to take care of it myself." Which approach did you take to do that? In many ways, I bet it's just that she was happy to get like free lawn care. So it's probably, she's probably happy to have you come out and do it, is what I guess. So yeah. So I remember, I think it was last week or the week before, someone asked a question saying, "Hey, my neighbor's lawn looks like weeds. How do I go over there and tell them, hey, can I just mow this part of your lawn for you?" And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. That can go really good or really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So next up, we have Super Goose Fisting says, "Congrats. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Thanks. Lance from BK says, "Sorry, Cousin and I have 1.5 acres. Let's see here. Okay, this is a good one. So It's Audacity has a question. He says, "What height of cut do you mow at or recommend for a residential golf course lawn?" What would you go with?
I'd say anywhere from like 3.5 to the lowest being like a half is what I would recommend.
Okay. So depending on your grass, the lowest is 1/2 inch. So so I'd say I've done just under 1/2 inch one time, like 2 years ago, and it almost killed me in the summertime because I had to mow it every day to keep it looking good. So for me, 3/4 of an inch is the sweet spot. Like I think you get great stripe action for that. You can mow realistically every other day in the middle of the summer when the grass is really growing aggressively, and it's just in other words, most lawns, if you look at most lawns, a lawn that's mowed at 3/4 of an inch or one that's mowed at say 1/2 an inch, to a grass nerd, like they'll be able to look at it and say, "Oh yeah, that's definitely tighter." But for most people, they look at it, they're going to say they're going to look equally good. But the other one, like the slightly taller one, is a lot less work to take care of than once you get down cutting heights beneath 1/2 an inch. So
Yep.
Three
And I get
quarters.
if it
Go ahead.
means anything, I've got my Greensmaster 1000 set up to 3/4, so that's what I'm going to be cutting at.
Yeah, so there you go. So three quarters of an inch is a great height to cut. I think that's good. And it's Audacity. If you top dress, you can top dress at that height. You didn't make any adjustments. It's a good height to cut. I mean, it's going to work from like now all the way through summer. And you won't be hating life then. Versus if you go much lower, then it can become a bit of a challenge. All right. So McNasty says, Ron, I know we had our differences last week. I see the work you're putting in. So today I decided to step it up to pull my weight and do my own double wides for the first time. So the pictures you guys saw here. This is the McNasty Motorsports. This is the double wides. So yeah. So here's the thing. This is a good consolation. I feel better because the fact that you didn't even notice last week that I've been cutting double wides. I felt a little hurt. I mean, I've been putting the work in. It's like someone's been working out. You don't even notice that they're getting more fit. So we're good. We're good. We're back on speaking terms. I get it. No worries. So what about you, Devin? So you said what kind of mower are you going to go with? It's a Greensmaster. Is it at the 1,000, 1,600?
Yep, GM 1000. Yep.
Nice. And on you said 1,500 square feet. Really, I mean, singles would probably be fine on that because it's a smaller lawn, right?
Yeah, that's probably what I'll do. I'll probably I'm a Rockies fan. Unfortunately, they're pretty horrible. But I always love the look of the infield. Always have. So I'm kind of want that infield look. Kind of just, I'll probably do a couple diagonals here or there, but usually just like one direction does it for me. And I always think that looks really good. Kind of just a classic look.
Yeah. I get it. I did in years past. I would mow it a different way every time. I'd mow away. I'd mow like all four directions. So away, across, a perpendicular, and then diagonals different ways. And it looks really cool. Now I've gone to just perpendicular, like a checkerboard. So I'm trying to get like a nice checkerboard effect this year. That's my goal. But still, the stripes you guys see where they're laying away from the house, those are the ones that are the prominent ones. And it looks cool.
And then I guess it's kind of a little secret I do as far as once I get my good lines established, I actually use those lines as my spray guide when I spray. So I'll walk up one and then I'll walk backwards on the one over for it. So I know exactly where I've been and what I've sprayed. So I'll use the lines that I lay down to guide me as I spray.
That's a good tip. It's a good tip. Yep. So it's a good reason to have your stripes, your defined stripes. All right, so this is a good one for you. So from OK Lawn Guy, he says, Devin, does cool season grass need to be scalped like one would scalp a dormant Bermuda lawn in the spring?
No, never scalp cool season grass. It does not like it. You'll either end up killing it or it's going to be really, really stressed and take a ton of time to bounce back. It's like when you drive around and there's homeowners who haven't mowed their yard in a month and then they go out and they just blast through it and then it's yellow for like 3 weeks until they mow it again.
So
yeah, cool season, no scalping.
No scalping. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. So there you go, guys. So us warm season guys, Bermuda, Zoysia, loves it, no problem at all. But cool season grass, not so much. Cool. LKN says, thanks, guys. Amazing answers. You're very welcome. Thank you for coming to hang out in the live stream. It's awesome to have you guys here. Guys, also on Instagram, I'm sorry you guys aren't getting to see Devin's comments. So if you guys want to see that, come on over to YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, because it's being multicast to those platforms. But unfortunately, you just hear me talking. You're not seeing him. So, and he's a lot more entertaining than I am anyway. So you should come over to one of the other platforms. All right. So next up, we have Joseph Atkins. He says, I sprayed Celsius and Certainty combination on St. Augustine that you recommended for weeds. How long do I need to wait before putting down fertilizer? You don't really have to. So if I were going to spray, if I were going to say, let's just say this were May, right? It was the beginning of May and I needed to apply my granular fertilizer and I also wanted to spray for weeds. What I would do, I'm a fan of doing granulars first. Because if you think about it, granular products like fertilizer need to get in the soil to work. You really don't want them sticking to the plant leaf. So if you were to do it the opposite way, so you spray the entire lawn with, say, Celsius and Certainty, so the leaf is wet, and then you go over the entire lawn with fertilizer, while it won't necessarily stay, it's going to make it stick or get or adhere to the plant leaf. So I'm a fan of doing your granulars first, herbicides afterward. You can do them on the same day if you want to. And then as far as watering, and then if you say you did them on the same day, because Celsius and Certainty do not need to be watered in, you actually want them to dry. you could either water in that evening or you could wait till the following day to water. So as a general rule, what I like to do is granulars first and then liquids afterwards, and especially anything herbicide, fungicide, insecticide, anything with the sides, I tend to do those last. Even though you're wearing your PPE, like I know you guys are all doing it, I like to do those last because I don't like the idea of spraying a bunch of insecticide or fungicide or herbicide in the lawn, and then I'm walking all through it all over again with my broadcast spreader. I'm getting it all over my equipment. So I'm not sure if my logic makes sense, Devin. I'm not sure if you guys do things differently or what your thoughts are, if it makes a difference as far as application sequence.
Yeah, usually just because at the course you usually press for time, so we'll have, if it's a green spray, we'll have maybe 14 products all in at the same time, or if it's a fairway, maybe 8 products at most. So everything will just
Wow.
go in the tank at the same time. And I'll do that the same at my house. Like if I have a fungicide app, I'll usually just throw it in with my whatever next spray I have, and I'll just go ahead and spray that. And I usually just do like propiconazole. I have like the
Okay.
TM like 4.2, I think it is.
Okay.
Just a generic propiconazole, and I'll just use that as my preventative in the summer.
Nice. So there you go, Joseph. As far as you can, again, same day if you want to, and then you should be you're good to go. Good to go. All right. Next up is Todd Hickey. He says, completed my top dressing project this past Saturday, 11 yards. Good Lord. Whew. Use a top dresser and shovels with my son. Should I mow with a riding lawnmower for a while until the sand is settled? Bermuda, East North Carolina. So it's a good question, Devin. So you guys say you guys go out and you top dress the fairways or the greens. How long before you put a mower back on them, or do you just not care and make the mechanic?
Yeah, if it's mid season, we'll mow them. Then we might skip one day maybe, but then the next day we'll go out and mow. And we actually have another set of mowers that are like sand reels.
Gotcha.
So we'll use those ones and still, and then I'll as I go through, I'll check the guys' clippings, and I'll see their sand to clipping ratio, and then once it's mostly sand, then we'll go back to our regular mowers.
Or mostly grass, or mostly.
Yeah. Oh yes, yeah.
Mostly grass. Go back to regular mowers. Yeah. So if you want to share, you use a riding mower for a while. It's your call, Todd. What I have done is I've never used a riding mower on my lawn after it's been top dressed. I've never done that, so I can't say how well that would work. What I can tell you is I've just raised the height of cut up on my real mower, and then I will plan for a sharpen at some point after doing that. Because here's the thing, even if you raise the height of cut up, you're still going to likely get some sand into the reel, and it doesn't take very much. I mean, one mow where you're chewing through some sand is enough to take the edge off of a reel and bed knife.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how a riding mower would do, because really, if you're top dressing, unless you are going to let the grass grow out a lot, I don't know if your riding mower is going to get down to the height of cut that would be along the lines of what your real mower would do. So, it's your call. I mean, if it were me, I would just let it grow out a bit and just raise the height of cut on your real mower, and then just start mowing, and just realize that you may have to go and get it sharpened again afterwards. Because I just don't, unless you're gonna let it grow to 1.5 inches, I don't know that your riding mower is gonna do a whole lot for you.
Nope. So I guess kind of a good segue. So my plan for that, because I'm gonna run into this as well at my house. I'm going from sod. I'm using the same company we get our bluegrass sod from. So that's what I'm going to have. So I'm going to have 100% blue, and the variety is awesome. I love this stuff. But I'm actually just going to buy like one of the push manual Scott's reel mowers, because I think I can go from 2.5 inches down to 1/2 inch. So I'm going to use that to get my height of cut down to where I want it. And then I'll do my top dress, and then I'll use that Scott's reel mower. I'll raise it up a little bit, or I'll keep it just above 3/4. And then I'll top dress, and then I'll mow like that until the sand really is worked down, and then I'll run the greens master. Yeah. Nice. So I'm going to kind of use that Scott's as my sand reel mower.
It's your sacrificial mower. It makes sense.
Yeah.
That's a good question. So as far as sand, as far as top dressing mix, like for example, we just had the blog post that was posted today on top dressing, and in there I talk about like the soil cube leveling mix and stuff from Superside. That's really good. And I also gave some options for creating your own using carbonized PN and masonry sand. So for you and your area, like if you were going to go out and find sand for top dressing your lawn, where are you, like, how would you go about? I mean, you have access to it or know where to get it from, but I mean, like, how would someone find a good sand blend for use to top dress their lawns? What would you recommend?
Well, here in the Springs, we got a couple landscape companies. So I'd probably just go to one of the landscape companies and kind of just explain to them what you want, and
Okay.
then you can, at least here, you can actually go out into their yard and actually look at the different material and decide if you want to use that or if you don't want to use that. But yeah, luckily for me, I'll be able to get our sand from it's actually a sports turf company that has like specialized sand, which that's where
Nice.
I'll get mine from.
It's a Gucci top dressing material.
Yep.
Nice. All right. Let's see here. So I think you've already answered this one. What's the highest, the tallest, and shortest how to cut? I think. What did you say? You said for the top three.
Like
What?
three and a half down to a half inch is what I would do.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna do mine at 3/4.
So there you go. Okay, Lon. You got the entire range, 3.5 down to as low as a half an inch. All right. Higgy Pop says, "Hey Ron, happy Friday. Looks like this the certainty and Celsius are starting to work. Apply it on Tuesday. Yes, Friday. Yeah, just finished cutting and I can see the weeds starting to yellow. Yeah. So the thing you'll find, Higgy, I tell people spray your lawn and don't look at the weeds for like 2 weeks. That I say that mainly because if depending on where you are in the country, where you are in the southeast, the herbicides tend to work faster. You should see results faster as temperature goes up. So if you sprayed on Tuesday, given that it's, I mean, what are we in? We're in the 70s, like low. We're in the right now it's 70 degrees, so it's probably in the 80s today. So it was pretty warm outside. I'm not surprised if you're starting to get results a bit sooner. When it comes to like summertime, if you spray that combination in like June against sedges, within 7 days, they're going to be burning up. They're going to be turning yellow and dying off. So I'm not surprised you're starting to get results already. But I tell people just to set expectations and not have to deal with a bunch of emails. Say 2 weeks, spray it, don't look at the weeds for 2 weeks, and you'll start to see it yellow, and then they'll die off. So I'm glad to hear that you're getting good results with with that combo.
Nice.
Good stuff. All right. Cooper's dad says, what do you feel would be the most effective zoysia for filtered sun area? Allowed to grow taller to help sun exposure, or use PGR? So you're asking, okay, if you should cut it short or cut it long for more sun exposure. That's a good question. I don't know on that one. I mean, what do you think? Do you think? I mean, having more leaf. I think what he's asking is, do you let the grass grow taller so it catches more sunlight? Will that allow it to do better than if it's shorter? I don't know. It's a good question. Yeah, I don't. That's a first.
I'd say yeah, probably apples and oranges.
Yeah, I don't. In other words, if it's going to do well in that area, Cooper's dad, as long as you're cutting it at a height that turf grass will tolerate. So for zoysia, if you're cutting it like 3/4 of an inch up to 2-3 inches, it's, in other words, I don't know that cutting it taller is going. In other words, if it weren't going to tolerate, if it's going to tolerate the shade at 3 inches, I don't know that cutting it at 2 inches or cutting it at 1 inch is going to make it not tolerate the shade. I guess is what I'm trying to say. If that's the question you're asking, I don't. I think if it's doing well at the current whatever height of cut you're at now, cutting it a little bit shorter, as long as again it's within the range of for that grass will tolerate, shouldn't make too much of a difference. In other words, with Bermuda, with my lawn, if I cut it a lot shorter than it is now, if I cut it like at half an inch, the only thing that really changes is the color. It doesn't tend to get as deep a green as if I let it get a bit taller. But as far as the areas, in other words, the areas that don't do well due to shade does not matter if I'm cutting it short or if I'm allowing it to go taller. It just gets thin and leggy. So to answer your question, letting it grow taller, I do not think is gonna materially improve how it handles shade. Or at least I have not experienced that. It's just, or use of PGR. They're different things. I think they're yeah. That's not really related. Not really related. I would say use growth regulator if you want to reduce your mowing frequency. Toughen up the turf. There's tons of reasons to do it, but shade, improving how it handles shade, is not one of them. Not to my knowledge, anyway.
No.
All right. Next up, we have Prior Thaddeus. He says, Ron only uses the best camera. Every camera looks better than ESPN. I have some nice camera gear. I am a camera nerd, so I do have some pretty nice camera gear. Like the one, I'm not using it tonight, but the one that's like my B cam, when I'm showing this stuff over here, that is not that's like a Sony camera, but the one that I'm on right now is it's a very expensive camera. You could shoot movies with it if you wanted to. It's a very very good camera. But I like cameras. I like pictures. So there you go. I'm a camera nerd. All right, next up is Anthony Davis. He says, "Hi Ron, how do I get rid of ants and the mounds that are popping up all over my lawn?" Okay, so if you depends on the kind of ants. If you're dealing with fire ants, the product that I love for that is a product called Advion, and it looks like I don't have it here. I don't think I have one. I don't have a bottle here. I do not. It's called Advion Fire Ant Bait. It's made by Syngenta. It's a really good product. I'll find I'll send you a link for it here. I guess for ants, what do you guys use for ants in the course, or if you have problems with that, Devin?
We really don't have too much problems with ants, just like a couple tea boxes. And we just have a generic product that we buy from Home Depot.
Mm-hmm.
And when the mounds start popping up and members complain about it, we just go out and sprinkle the stuff around the mounds, and then within a week or so they're under control. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the stuff that I like, Anthony. If you have it in, I'll bring it up. I'll bring that link up here so you guys can actually see what I'm talking about. This stuff I discovered years ago, probably like 2018, and I have not looked back. This is awesome stuff. Advion Fire Ant Bait. The nice thing is that it's got like two openings. It's got like a pepper shaker opening to where you can, and the bottle is very squeezable, it's very malleable to where you can literally like kind of walk around your lawn or walk around the ant hill and spray around it. And it does a great job controlling ants in your lawn. So I will use this around the border, like bordering my neighbor's lawns to keep them out. And if you use this stuff, I personally have had great results with it. What you're going to want to do is not apply it when there's a couple days of dry weather in the forecast. In other words, you don't want to apply this and then let it get rained on right afterwards. So that would be the only other guidance that I would give you as far as ant products. But I mean, there's the products from Ortho or from like the big box stores that work. I mean, there's tons of products for ants, for taking care of ants, but that I find works very well. It has like a bit of residual as well, so it's a great product. That's what I use on my lawn. It doesn't smell bad either. So there's that. All right, next up, we have T1000. Devin probably agree with this. He says, dyes are the weaves of lawn care. So he's like the fake hair of lawn care. I don't know. I mean, they have a place. I mean, I've heard, and don't say I'm slandering here, but I've heard that even like Augusta National uses some dyes on like whenever they're spraying the course. I've heard that. I don't know how true it is. I had no idea.
Yep, I have heard that as well. But
yeah, so I think sparingly. I mean, it's true. You can see T1000. I would say this: you will see some women that have like they'll do weave, they'll do extensions, and if it's done tastefully, it can look okay, right? It can look okay. I think if you're like relying on that, it does not look as good. So
yep, I agree.
Yeah, so tastefully done, it can be all right. Like I've not done dyes on my lawn. I've never done dyes on my lawn because I'm afraid of not doing it right. If you don't spray them evenly, you can see it looks weird. It doesn't look like grass. So there's that. All right, this is a good one. So Charles Taylor says, when is the best time to put down a fungicide in a Bermuda lawn, Memphis? So it depends. If you've not had issues with disease in your lawn, the end of this month or early May is a good time to do your preventative fungicide. If you've had problems, I would do it earlier. So in my case, where I've had some issues with large patch in the front lawn, I had an issue that I've never had a disease problem in the front lawn before, and this year I've got an area there that I'm taking care of. I did mine the beginning, like earlier this month, so early April. But as a preventative, if you don't have a history of it, you can do it in May, June timeframe. That's a good month to do your preventative fungicides. For cool season lawns, I guess for you guys, what would you guys start doing your fungicides?
Depending on the weather, could be late April if stuff's greening up and warming up, because that's when it's cool and gets damp and we get like some late moisture.
Mm-hmm.
And usually that's kind of timed where you're getting your first fertilizer apps going, and you can get a bunch of moisture that sits on there with that little bit of nitrogen. But yeah, late April, early May, and then just preventative through the summer. Yep. And then once you get into the fall, then the temps get cold enough, and it's pretty much a moot point. You really don't have to worry about it.
And now for cool season grass, like for Bermuda, large patch, summer patch, that's we deal with you get some necrotic ring, but I mean mainly large patch. What we deal with a lot in our lawns. For cool season grass, like what's is it dollar spot? Like what do you guys deal with a lot in as far as disease goes?
Yeah, you'll get melting out and dollar spot, necrotic ring spot here and there. You'll get fairy ring and spots. Not in residential. We have that at the course, but you really can't treat for that. And then yeah, that's probably pretty close for residential stuff. Maybe some powdery mildew.
Got you. Yeah, I think it's a bluegrass is more susceptible to that, I believe, if I understand right. Yeah, powdery mildew. Yeah, Bermuda really, it's large patch, summer patch. You can get dollar spot, but really, if you're feeding it a good diet of nitrogen, it tends to grow through it. It tends to not have to treat for dollar spot in Bermuda. Yeah, all right. So G Freeze Up says, "Hey Ron, hashtag Stripe Action Gang and Devin, happy Friday. Appreciate it." And then Tom G says, ethofumezate, that's the active ingredient in Progress. Okay, so thanks, Tom G. Appreciate you. You got 2 Trilla saying, happy Friday, Golf Course Lawn Gang. Doug Truffi's Eve, the Twin Turbo Package, saying, good evening, everyone. Let's see, Optic Cyclic says, managed my first mow in Canada today. Wow. Did more of my organic post-emergent herbicide too. Cool. I wonder what he used. I know there's what is it corn? Is it cornmeal? There's some kind of there are some organic. Is it gluten meal? What is it? I'm not sure what they use. I think there's a meal you can use for.
I'm not sure. I'd be curious to like maybe set up a test plot at some point and do one versus the regular stuff we use and see how it.
Yeah, and see how it does.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. I would imagine that if you can, like I always say, like when it comes to post-emergent herbicides and pre-emergent, so I know for organic options, there's not a ton of them. I mean, if there were organic ways of controlling weeds easily, then a lot of professional turf fields would just be doing that, right? Because it saves money. But because you guys still spray stuff, I imagine it's not as easy. Oki Lon says, I'll just live with it, $500 as far as the promo goes. Well, maybe fine if you have some friends or friends in your area that have the same problem, you guys could buy a bottle and split it. I mean, you might be able to do that. I mean that's an option as well. Let me see. So we had a question here about a lawn care program. I think I missed it. Oh yeah. Vin Wynn says, hello all, I'm in Cleveland, Ohio. Can you recommend a program yearly to make my grass deep green? So it's really, Vin, it's the same thing that you would do with warm season grass. I mean, ideally, get rid of weeds. I'll actually show you. Here's, if you want to see it in a nutshell, here's how you have a great lawn. So we have an infographic that shows it. If you go to shop and just click on there, you'll see right here, this is a great lawn in a nutshell. So thing 1 is eliminate weeds in your lawn. So use a combination of post-emergent herbicides or natural means to get rid of them. 2, do a soil test. 3, fertilize your lawn based on the soil test results. And then 4, the thing that most people don't do enough is make sure your equipment is nice and sharp and mow some more. If you do these things, right, like it's really hard to not have amazing grass. Like a lot of the other things that we do, like you see that we do in the program as far as biostimulants, growth regulator, those are helpful as well too. But really, get Devin back up here. But really, unless you are mowing, like you're doing a lot with your mowing, it doesn't all come together. In other words, you'll have green grass, but it's not going to, from a parent standpoint, it's not going to look that great. So that's what I'd recommend. If you want to schedule, we do have one. I should show you that real quick. If you go to guides and then lawn care schedule, this is like a yearly schedule that we put out that's free. I mean, the one that's in the academy is a bit more detailed. But if you scroll to the bottom here, or just click here at number 5, it gives a month-by-month breakdown as far as, again, this is based on warm season turf, largely as far as the scalping portion of it. But like doing, scalping your lawn, doing a soil test, doing your pre-emergent, that talks about like essential G, like introducing organic material and helping to improve soil quality. And then talks about fertilization, insecticides. So this is a schedule that you can follow that, you can take parts of this that you want to use. This is like a full tilt schedule. You can take parts that you want to use and you can omit stuff that you don't want to do. But doing this along with consistent mowing, you'll notice one thing is interesting here. Every month, including April, you see consistent mowing. You go to May, consistent mowing. All this other stuff here, consistent mowing. You go to June, consistent mowing. So like that's one thing that is a big part of this. All the products help. They are a huge part of getting a great looking lawn. But if you're not mowing your lawn consistently, I'm gonna get down back in here. You're not going to see the results. So I'll link that for you here if you want, Vin. Hope that helps. And again, this is a free one that we put out that you can take a look at. All right, so we have another super chat. LG is getting going already. So
Super chat received.
he says, from LG, I just poured myself some drink. Okay, some drink, not drink, some drank. Okay, so it's on now. Cue up that tango beat. Ron, what's the one thing you like least about your outlet? For me, the cartridges don't change out as quickly as advertised. The thing I like least. Here's the thing. The thing that I like least is the thing that I also like on the back lawn. I wish it actually weighed a little bit less than it did so I could use it on the front lawn. I could cut the front lawn with it because it's so heavy. That mower's like 300 plus pounds. It's too much to, on a slope, man, you gotta, like literally, you think with a greensmaster, you're planning your turns. With this thing, you gotta have a pre-flight check. You have someone down there waving you around when you're gonna make your whip turn. It's a lot of mower to handle. So if it could be a little bit lighter, that would be great. Outside of that, it's a really solid piece of equipment. I mean, as far as you're talking about changing the cartridges, what I find LG is with the Sterling, and again, I only had one for like 4 or 5 hours when Roland brought one by for me to use it and to shoot content on it. Is if your approach angle is a bit steeper, like if you kind of go in steeper and then drop the cartridge in, it tends to go in easier than if you go in with it like parallel to those two bars that are in there to help guide the cartridge in that it kind of sits on. I find going in steeper allows it to kind of drop into place better. So you might try that and see if that helps. But it should not be hard. It should not, like what you saw in that video, the video that I did of the review of it, that wasn't multiple takes. That wasn't multiple takes. Like literally I set the camera up and I did a take of me just like taking a cartridge out and putting it back in. That wasn't like 17 takes. I think it was like the second one, mainly because the first time I forgot to unlock the 2 green hinges when I tried to pull it out. So there was that. But the first time I actually did the sequence correctly, I was able to pull it out and drop it in without much trouble. So try altering the angle because you shouldn't have to. It shouldn't be a big struggle to get that in there. All right, so let me get LG back up here because he is now the show sponsor based on his super chat, and let me get that up.
Super chat received.
Thanks, LG, so much for that. Your name in lights, whatever it means to you. So you guys got to keep the running tally. So I know LG did 50 and he did 85, so whatever that adds up to. If anyone goes above that, you guys have to just keep the tally going because I can't keep up with it. So, and just because it's you, I'll even put on some Tango Bolero as we look for the next question. See, Devin, you see what I got to deal with? I'm trying to answer questions. I also got to police these guys. It's like policing a wild set of a big playground, you know. All right, so we got here. This is a good one. VB's up next. He says, "What tips can you give if you have little grass and dirt patches?" So let's say you have a cool season lawn. You got not a lot of grass, a lot of dirt patches. How would you go about correcting that? Well, how would you go about it?
I guess first thing I do is probably pull a couple cores and do a soil test just to see what you're dealing with, because your pH could be off or something, which could be why you have dirt and random patches. So do that first, get that back and see what you need or what you don't need, and then buy your products that you need. Then I would probably do some type of aeration or verticutting to get some slits or holes, and then I would seed those spots, and then probably top dress over the top of those with maybe a compost mix that holds a little soil. Get that stuff watered in and germinated. See if you get any weeds that come up and spray those selectively as they come up, and then mow as you start establishing everything, and then get it established, and then mow, and then just go on to a regular fertility program, in short, I guess.
Yep. Nice. So yeah, to his point, like especially if it's a warm season lawn like Bermuda, if Bermuda's not growing in an area, normally it's shade or a nutrient problem or some kind of debris or something going on, right? So if you, to his point, pull cores, get a sample, get a soil test, correct those deficiencies, relieve compaction in the lawn, aeration, those are great things. Top dressing is a great thing. If it's just one small area, for Bermuda, what I would say is if you want it to match, if you want to ensure it's going to match, you can put plugs in, transfer plugs from the stronger parts of your lawn to there. That's going to ensure it's going to match. And then, like you said, just mow it and just feeding it. It's a time thing, you know what I mean? But we have to figure out first of all why grass isn't growing there, because grass wants to grow. If it's not growing in a certain area, we need to solve that part of the case first before you start putting, a bunch of throwing seed at it or throwing a bunch of other processes at it, and it starts with soil testing. So that is what I would recommend, kind of along the lines of exactly what Devin said. So, all right, Eagles up next says 1,500 square foot front and back. Colorado sound like it's going to townhomes, maybe, or people just don't want to have big lawns there, I guess.
Yeah. Like I said, it's like utility companies are cracking down for how much square footage of turf you have just to reserve water, because we're in a pretty serious drought. So.
Yep. Cool. So it's fine. It's cold, but it's still technically desert, even though it's pretty arid because of where you are in the country.
Yep. Yeah, we average like 3 inches of rain a year.
Oh wow.
So not very much.
Is water expensive?
It's not terribly. We have restrictions. We can only water 3 days a week, and that's dictated by your address. If you're even or odd, what days you can water, and then obviously there's certain times that you can and cannot water.
Okay.
So, but fingers crossed. Usually, like July, which is when I'm putting all my plant stuff, is our monsoon season, so we can get like some really good afternoon thunderstorms. So I'm hoping on that for this year. But the past couple of years, it's been pretty non-existent.
Okay. So just hope for the best.
Yep.
All right. Let's see if I have a question here. I got a few dry spots. Okay, so Maestro says here on so this is from Instagram, says best fert and weed and kill. I'm in South Texas. You're talking about a weed and feed. Here's the thing. I'm not a huge fan of weed and feed products. Because I think that, really, the fertilizer you use on your lawn should be based on soil testing, and it's pretty difficult to find a lot of different variations of weed and feed products that have the right nutrient makeup for your lawn. So what I would say is split them. Like use the correct product for the weeds you're trying to target, and then for your fertilizer, choose that based on your soil test results. And then Maestro says, I've got 7,500 square feet. I've got a few dry spots where I could feel the dry sod lifting up. Any ideas what I'm dealing with? Depends on how old the lawn is. If it's a newer lawn, if it's a new lawn where you just recently sodded it, maybe it didn't establish. If you're pulling it up where the sod is lifting up and you look down there, look for grubs. Grubs can start damaging. Insect damage could be part of it. That could be part of your problems. Yes, if it's been 2 years, Maestro, yes, it's established. If it's pulling up easily, that is typically a sign of some kind of insect damage in the lawn. So if you've not done an insecticide like a Celiprin, I'm a big fan of a Celiprin. Consider doing that. But if you should see it, if you pull it up, you should see. Well, no, not always, but if you look at other parts of your lawn, you should be able to see the grubs somewhere throughout. If you're able to pull up the sod. If you're able to grab a handful of Bermuda sod and easily pull it up with your hands, there's something wrong. And a lot of times it's some kind of turf caterpillar or grub that's having a munchie on your lawn. So if you've not done a preventive insecticide like a Celiprin, I'd recommend doing that. Okay, next up is OK Lawn Guy. So this is an interesting question. He says, is it necessary for me to bag my lawn every mow if I'm mowing regularly? I'm mowing like twice a week. What do you think? Do you bag, not bag? What are your thoughts?
I've always bagged. At my old house, I mowed 4 times a week, and I bagged every time. I guess it's just kind of a personal preference, I guess, if you don't want the clippings on the turf or if it doesn't bother you.
Yep. So, from an appearance I was a guy that used to mulch for years and years and years. Last year I started bagging, mainly because I spent all this time like trying to manage thatch levels. And even though if you're mowing regularly, it doesn't create a bunch of thatch, but from an appearance standpoint, it does look better. The difference between a lawn that is mulched all the time versus one that is bagged, there's a noticeable difference in the appearance of the lawn. So if you got the time and a place to dispose of them or a way to dispose of them, then I would say, bagging is not either way. You're not going to, if you're mowing regularly, it's not like you're committing a cardinal sin by mulching or bagging, but from an appearance standpoint, it's going to look better if you catch your clippings. Mike Moore, any suggestions on a product to help with dog pee spots? You have Max. Anything special you do to try and deal with dog pee spots?
Usually in the summertime. Well, at the course he's trained, he only goes to the bathroom in the native, so he doesn't actually pee on any of the maintained turf areas.
Mm-hmm.
And in the summertime, kind of same thing in the rock. He'll go out in the rocks, so don't really worry about it. The only ever real time is like coming out of winter. He'll go like right off the patio, at least at the old house, because he didn't want to go out in the cold. And I'd get
Right.
because he'd go in the same spot over and over and over and over again. And then I would just dig all that old like plant material, thatch out, get it down to the soil, and just reseed it with some compost, and then just usually reestablish it that way. I guess if you could train your dog to not go like in the same spot, if you can kind of go in different spots. I've read things that there's things you can put in their water bowl that changes whatever chemistry in their pee, and it doesn't burn the turf as much. I've never used those, but yeah, I guess, or you just go out and hose it down right after they go to the bathroom.
After they go.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So, I mean, I can tell you what Alex has done is kind of like what Devin is talking about is like, their dog Stella, she's trained to go, she's like a sacrificial area that is like scorched earth. And that area is like pretty much destroyed. Right. But that's going to be your thing. I mean, to his point, I think there are products that you can add to like their water or things you can eat to help, make it to where it doesn't burn, doesn't damage the grass less. But really your best bet is to train them just to go in one area if you can. There's not really, if it damages the lawn, you're going to have to wait for it to recover. All right. So Robert Rainey has a question for you. He says, Devin, how do you manage the schedule for everything at the course? Mowing areas, spraying, app measuring, bunkers, etc. Like, how do you keep track of all of it?
So that's a pretty good question. It could be a pretty long answer.
Okay.
So usually in the wintertime, probably early January, I'll get like an early version of tournament dates, member dates, anything like golf events that the golf shop's going to have planned for that year. And they'll send that over to me. And then I'll use that information, and then I'll start to build our agronomy calendar starting in March with aeration on it, our spray apps. And then I'll go through all that all the way through I think we go through the end of September with that, and then in October everything really ramps down a lot.
Okay.
And then we meet. We'll meet with all the guys in the golf shop, and we go through things. And if we get something like for our PoaCure apps, for example, which now they just give us those dates, which works good. If we have like Tuesdays are like a delayed day, so normally tee times are at 7:00, and then on our delayed days, tee times are at 9:30 because we have big outside events on Mondays, so we're not able to get anything done. So it kind of gives us a mini maintenance morning to get out ahead. So I will schedule like all our sprays, like fairway sprays and green sprays and everything like that will be on those Tuesdays, and then we get one closed Monday a month. So if we have a closed Monday, I try to get as much stuff in on those days as well. Yeah, and then as far as like mowing, that's just a week-to-week basis. Usually greens are every day regardless. Tees are once a week. Fairways are 3 times a week, 4 times if we have a big tournament. And then the rough is just a never-ending loop. He finishes 18 and then goes and starts on 1. And then it's kind of the same with green surrounds and tee surrounds. We'll do them the beginning of the week, and then we'll get them done at the like Thursday or Friday, so they're clean for the weekend. If we have like men's league events or stuff like that. But yeah, it's a huge calendar, and I go through it and kind of use the template what the golf shop gives me, and then I build our agronomic calendar off of that.
Nice. Yeah. So because it's a working course, like it's designed, members need to play on it. It's largely
Yep.
based around what your like that schedule's on the course and what your any time gaps or open days like you're saying. It's cool. Sounds like a fun job.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
All right, Robert Rainey's up next. He says, answer the top dress question. This will be my 3rd season top dressing. So there you go. So it's 3 years. And yeah, I mean, once you start, the thing is, the first time is the hardest, I find. And then every time after that, subsequently, it takes, yeah, it gets better because you're going light. You're not going super heavy. You know what I mean? It doesn't take long for the lawn to recover. All right. Andy McCraw says, okay, to plug the lawn if I put down pre-emergent this season. And can I sod as long as I break up /scarify the soil? So that's a good question. So if you put down pre-emergent, can you still use sod? I have found yes. I found that sod tends to establish without much of a problem. Yeah, it's not. It doesn't. Sod doesn't really, especially if it's at least if it's warm season grass. Bermuda and zoysia don't have a problem. if you you have an area that's having trouble and you decide you can put some sod down, it's still roots in just fine and does well.
Yep. Same for cool season.
Goose and grass. Okay. So, yeah. So there you go. So you should be fine. Should be good to go, Andy. All right. Lance F is up next. He says, Ron / Devin says, I have Kentucky bluegrass. I applied prodiamine earlier this spring, not realizing I had spots of winter kill. Is replanting sod my only option at this point? I don't think I can use seed to fix the dead spots. So he already got some pre-arm down. Yeah.
Yeah, you could put some sod down. I don't think that would hurt. I would just kind of pull back some of that dead thatched material before. I wouldn't just lay on top of that. Kind of get that down to the soil and then lay your sod on top.
Yeah. So yeah, Lance, given that you did pre-emergent, sod is you probably get a better result with that than trying to grow it, filling that area from seed. All right. Dalen Krause says, Devin, someday I'll make it up to Colorado from Oklahoma to play some golf at your course.
All right. Yeah. Let me know.
Yeah. Nice. It's a nice course. It's a really nice course. It's you look at it's the club at Flying Horse, right? Yep. Yeah, if you guys go look, here's the thing. Here's how nice it is. There are literally, I was looking at it before the show again. They have drone shots of all the holes. There's one hole, I think it's number 4, or one of these holes. I don't know if I still have it up here, and it looks very unkind. It's a par, or maybe it's a par 4 where the green is on a pedestal almost. I mean, from the drone shot, it looks like if you miss the green, you're gonna have a really bad day. It looks like it's a very unkind course. I think it is the 4th hole. I'm not sure which one is. No, it's not the 4th one. I have to find it. So I was looking at the videos before.
Possibly
6, maybe.
It might be 6, yeah. Which that'd be funny because that's actually my favorite. That's my favorite hole on the course.
6 and 7. Yeah, much. I'm trying to find. No, it's not this one, because there's 2 different courses out there, but there's one where it is just it looks like from the drone shot, if you miss it left, it looks like it falls off a lot, and you're just going to be pitching back uphill to try and get up and down. So I'll see if I can find it here. All right, next up is Frederick Menard. He says, happy Friday, folks. What's going on? Let's see. Nixa Eagle says, day at the Capitol, stole MSMA from homeowners. Dallas grass grows wild now. Yeah. Let's see. Dalen Krause. He's like, this is a good one. He says, Ron, multi-questions for new sod. Bermuda laid March 1st. Okay, so it's a little over a month old. Tahoma is still rooting in, but turning green. How long to wait for the first mow? How long to wait for top dress? When can I spray out weeds? Okay, so as far as the mow, if it's already rooted in, you can start mowing it. I wouldn't go, you don't necessarily go too aggressively. But yeah, you can start mowing it now if you wanted to, because it's been over 6 weeks, coming up on almost 2 months now. Yeah, you can start mowing it. As far as top dressing, here's the thing: I've seen Bermuda sod installed and then top dressing it the days later. So if you wanted to top dress this year, you absolutely could. Given that you did it March 1st, if you waited until mid-May, if you're trying to be a bit conservative, that would be fine. Don't go crazy heavy, but I mean, I always say that anytime anyone asks me a question about top dressing, you can absolutely top dress it this year if you want to. As far as spraying out weeds for post-emergent herbicides, if you're mowing it, you can use post-emergent herbicides against it. I would use Celsius or Certainty, depending on what you're trying to target. So, and just stick to the label rates, and you should have a good result. Bermuda is very hardy, Dalen. I mean, it's once it's rooted in, it's you can. In other words, if it doesn't look anymore like a lawn that was just sodded, where you can see all the lines, where it's fairly established, and you're mowing it, yeah, you can pretty much go to town. You know what I mean? One thing I would not do is I wouldn't core aerate. I wouldn't do anything that's going to try and pull, has a potential of pulling the sod up. I wouldn't do that, right now. But as far as top dressing it, mowing it, and doing some post-emergent weed control, I don't see any issues with doing any of that. It says, when can I spray a Celiprin? Yesterday, if you wanted, you could do it now. There's no problem with doing that. All right. Next up is Nathan Hobbs. He says, okay, I overseeded with annual ryegrass. Yes, I've learned my lesson, never again. I got MSM turf to allow the Bermuda to wake up. Anything else I can do? Just time. Here's the thing I got to tell you, and this what also scared me. I was at the Railroaders Turf Park this week, and the they did ryegrass. They did a ryegrass overseed not last year, but the year before that. And even though they sprayed it out, they still they use a post-emergent herbicide to get rid of it. When I was there this week, you can still see some ryegrass growing through. Even though they try to get rid of it, so this is 2 years ago. So that really gives me pause as far as introducing, doing a ryegrass overseed. Because I don't want to be fighting ryegrass all, going forward now, creating a problem where there wasn't one before. So, in other words, what you're experiencing, Nathan, is not uncommon. I saw it firsthand on a lawn that was overseeded not last year, 2 years ago. It's still coming through. So there is that. This is a good one for you, Devin. He says, from It's Audacity, he says, what's your preventative fungicide routine look like? Do you rotate your modes of action at all? He kind of answered this, but we can revisit it really quickly for anyone that didn't hear.
So yeah, at my house, I'll just use propiconazole usually, and usually I don't do enough apps consecutively that I would have to rotate out at home. But at the course, we'll do a rotation between propiconazole and chlorthalonil every other week.
Cool. All right. Let's see. Okay, Long Guy says, hey chat, what is Ron's email address? I'd like to send a couple pictures of the question I have. So it's ron@golfcourselawn.com. I don't know if I'm on this one. I have it. Let me see. Yeah, I do. There you go. ron@golfcourselawn.com. You can email me there and I will get your pictures. Okay, Long Guy. All right. Let's see. LG says, Sterling 51 owner for just a week now. The Scarifier cartridge is the truth. Pulled up 30 plus bags of junk out of the lawn. It's a lot of material, a lot of debris.
Nice.
Yeah, very cool. Very, very cool. Let's see here. Robert Rainey says, Devin, I have to ask. Okay, this is good. It's a very good question. Devin, I have to ask, what is the craziest thing you've seen happen at the 3 courses you've worked at? PG-13.
Oh, the craziest things I've seen happen. Well, that's a good question. I guess I'd say the craziest thing I've seen at the first course I worked at, this is when I would have just been like a high school kid working as a summer job. We had the wrought iron fence with the spikes at the top, and we had I guess at some point during the night, a deer tried to jump over it and miscalculated and actually like impaled itself on the fence, and we had to go out with our front end loader and chain it and like lift it up, and it was like still like partially alive. That was pretty gross. In New York, the craziest thing I probably saw, yes, I don't know, probably nothing too crazy out there that I can think of that stands off on the top of my head. At our course here, I luckily never saw it, but I found tracks of it, mountain lion tracks. We had homeowners who were calling in saying they've seen it, and then bears and stuff, but luckily never ran into those. Yeah, probably just wildlife stuff is probably some of the craziest things I've seen.
Wow. Cool. All right. So let me get down here. We have another super chat from LG, and also LG for the new mower. First of all, let me get your super chat here.
Super chat received.
Is for Demir. I appreciate you being on the stream. I should have been a special guest on the stream a long time ago, but I prefer the mystery. Feel honored because LG doesn't give compliments ever. And on another note, LG, first of all, thanks for the super chat. And we didn't give you, some DAP for the new mower, the Sterling 51. You told me you got it. We didn't clap it up. We got to do that. So congrats on the new mower. I'm sure you're going to use it in good health. And again, we'll give you one more. Congrats on the new mower. It's pretty awesome. It's a good one. What's the craziest thing you ever seen happen on the golf course? I was gonna think, okay, you see someone take like huge chunks out of the fairway. That's probably a regular thing, regular occurrence. It's probably not crazy enough. All right.
Yeah, just send out crews to fill divots. I always tell them it's just job security.
That's true. That's true. Now, have there ever been some like divots you looked at and you're like, how on earth did this happen? Or are they pretty much always the same for the most part?
Yeah, we've had a couple times where we've had just like rude people take like divots out of greens, and that's I usually don't ever try to get like angry, but there's times where that's happened where we've had like 9 or 10 divots out of greens, because then you got to like plug them out and stuff, and it's just like, come on.
They hit a pitching wedge off the green, or they just were being a jerk and just.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good. Yeah.
But I guess actually I'd say at the course I'm at now, we had someone at some point stole one of the housekeeping carts from over by the lodge and drove it out on the course and did donuts on a couple greens and drove over a few flag sticks and then crashed it into a bunker. So that's probably one of the other
Wow.
crazy stories I've seen. Yeah, so it's pretty funny. You can see from our shop where our whiteboard is. When I'm doing our morning meetings, I'm standing there waiting for people to come over, and I'm looking across the parking lot, and you can see 8 green. And I was like, I could see this like white box. I'm like, what is that? I was like, that looks really weird. And drive over and had gone off the face of the bunker and drove the cart down into the face of the bunker, and we had to pull it out with the tractor.
Not good. And you never found out who did it?
No, never found out. But we always get stuff like that. There's always vandalism each year.
People being silly. Yeah, this is the course. This is the hole I found. I found it. So this one, it's actually hole number 1. So this guy, let me see if I can.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, so that looks painful, man. I mean, if you look, I mean, again, it's hard to see from the drone shot, but it looks like it's on a pedestal. It looks like it's on a plateau almost. Like that doesn't look very forgiving.
Yep.
Maybe it's not. It's not.
It's up high. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, if you miss that, it looks like you were gonna have a bad day. So
Nice.
so yeah, so that's that was the one that I was looking at when I was going through the videos. Okay,
Nice.
cool. All right, next up we have LG. He says weeds like Bermuda can definitely tolerate scalping more than cool season grasses. See, now there's a problem. So you start drinking, and this is what happens. We start tolling Bermuda weeds, and you see getting out of hand. It's getting out of hand. All right, Unforgiven Sound says, let's see here. Hello, just subbed. In Virginia, the main grass is tall fescue. What is a good mixture with this type of thick grass for kids? I don't know if I understand the question. The main grass is tall fescue. What is a good mixture with this type of grass for kids? Maybe from a wear standpoint, I guess. I don't know.
I guess, yeah. Maybe put some bluegrass and ryegrass in with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what you're referring to. That's a good question. So your roughs that you guys have, what are the roughs? Are they fescue, or what do you guys use for roughs?
Everything except the greens are bluegrass, and then some spots we've overseeded with rye.
Okay, he's allowed to grow taller in the rough areas then.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, rough is about 2.5 inches, 2 to 2.5 inches. And that's the same for like green surrounds and T surrounds.
That's still 2 inches. That's pretty nasty. All right. Next up we have Dexter Young. He says, I just had new Bermuda sod installed in parts of my lawn in February. Okay, good stuff. After removing a tree, I plan to add blackjack seeds to thicken up the entire lawn. When is the best time to overseed? I'm in Alabama. So here's the thing I would say, Dexter. I wouldn't do that. So given that you just had new sod installed, we said in parts of your lawn in February, well, a better way to ensure that the grass, that the area where the tree used to be matches the surrounding sod is to plug the area instead of using grass seed. You can do that, but it's unlikely to match the sod that you had installed. So depending on how picky you are, if you can just plug that area, that's going to ensure that it matches perfectly versus putting in seed. If you decide you're going to go forward with seed, you want, for Arden 15, you want soil temps to be 65 degrees around in that area, trending a little bit warmer. So I imagine for blackjack, it's likely going to be similar. But again, I really wouldn't do that. I would plug the area versus introducing blackjack, especially without knowing what kind of sod that you have in your lawn. All right. No Name is up next. He says, please touch that like button if you haven't done so already. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. Thanks for all the love and support. Dwayne's Rolls up next. He says, Ron, is Primo and T-Nex one and the same? I'm looking, yes, for the most part, yes. I'm looking at possibly buying 1 gallon of product because it makes more sense from a price per application. Your thoughts? Yeah, so I've heard that the carriers in Primo are different to the carriers that are in T-Nex. I have no way of being able to prove to know what the differences would be. I prefer Primo because again, Syngenta, it's a name brand product, and also the big thing is that this is easy, man. Like once you get used to using the built-in measuring cup, it's hard to go away from this. Even if you use T-Nex, like buying at least one of these for just so you have this container as a way to easily measure out like how much you're putting down is a real game changer. But I don't know, Devin. Do you know on the course? Do you guys use Primo? Or do you guys use like a off-brand, or what do you guys use on the for your growth regulator?
We use Primo for everything. We've used in the past a product called Podium, which is
Mm-hmm.
just like it's just Syngenta's like generic brand. It's just like with like the main stuff you get like the backed by Syngenta, but if you buy the other stuff from Syngenta, it's just you don't get that. If there's a problem with like their I guess they're like VAT or whatever they're that mix and it kills turf. Syngenta won't pay for it like what they do with their main products.
I
And then
see.
Tenex is just like a generic product of that, and that's just Tenex for the active ingredient name.
Yeah, for Trexapac ethyl. Yeah,
Ethyl. Yep.
yeah.
But yeah, we do use Primo. We'll use about 40 gallons throughout the season.
Wow, it's a lot. It's a lot of Primo. It's a lot. Okay, cool. All right, so this is a good one. Ryan Wardall is up next. He says, "Hey, Devin, can you explain what's so special about USGA certified top dress sand? Should homeowners consider it for leveling if they can find it locally?"
So it pretty much just comes down to the particle size, and it matches the USGA specs that the sand base was built on, that your green's already built on, because you don't want to create layering in those sand profile. So it's the same particle size, and it just matches everything that you already have. I mean, I guess you could use it, but it's quite a bit more expensive than the regular stuff because it's screened differently, and it's just a totally different product.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, Ryan. So if a big part of why the top dressing material I've used, the one from Supersod, the soil cube, like their leveling mix, part of why it costs what it costs is they use that. They use USGA sand and they use then they have their compost that they add to it. And it's quite a bit more expensive than stuff that you buy, you'll find locally. But it's also really good. Like I did my entire back lawn with I forget, it's like 6 or 7 bags, a bunch of sand, a bunch of material, and I had like a handful of like pebbles that came out of the entire lawn, and they were all smaller than a dime. So they screen it really well, and it settles really nicely. It's a great product, but I mean, like anything else, you get what you pay for, right? So
Yep.
all depends on your budget, how big of an area, and if it's worth it to you or not. But I really liked it because I don't like having to go through and pick a bunch of trash up out of my lawn once I'm done top dressing it.
Yep.
All right, this is a
Exactly.
good one. Unforgiven Sound says, "Does lime help rejuvenate soil, and is pellets better than pulverized?" I mean, as far as I'm not sure if you have any thoughts on this one, Devin. I mean, when I think about lime applications, it's really around raising soil pH. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I say yeah, I've been lucky enough. I've never had to do like any real lime applications. Soil pH is pretty consistent in Colorado, depending where you're at, and you really
mhm.
don't have to play with your pH very often. Everything is pretty close to right around 7 for our native soils, which we're pretty lucky.
Nice, nice. Yeah. So, it helps improve the soil from a standpoint. If your soil is more acidic, it can help. You can help move it to that Goldilocks zone between 6 and 7. Pellets more than pulverized. I've never used pulverized. I've always used the pellets. I don't know
Yeah.
that one is better than the other. I mean, the pellets are going to be easier to apply. You know what I mean? Like you just put them in your spreader, and because what tends to
Roll.
happen, yeah, what tends to happen is when you do a lime app, you'll do typically between 20 to 40 pounds per thousand. And I don't know how you would do that with pulverized. It'd be a lot of liquid, a lot of product to do that versus the spreader using the pellets. It's pretty easy. So I've never done pulverized to be able to tell you. But I know if you use the pellets and you water it in heavily, you get a great result with that. So for whatever that's worth. All right, Billy Gilbert says, "Happy Friday. Thanks for the stream. You are very welcome. Thanks for coming to hang out, Billy. We appreciate you." And Christopher Burkett says, "I have some weak spots in the zoysia, winter damage from poor drainage. Rest of the lawn is green and been cutting it. Should I aerate now? I have a Billy Goat plugger, can do cores or spikes." Sure. Yeah, I mean, if you want to aerate now, yeah, there's no issue with doing that. Yeah, no problem. I mean, April. I'm not sure where in the country you are, Christopher, but yeah, April now all the way through early, like late spring, early summer is a great time to aerate your lawn. So yeah, no issues with that at all. Um, Let's see what other questions we got here. Russell Hood says, do you use your Owlet or Toro more? I use both of them. So I use the Owlet for the back lawn and I use the Toro for the front lawn. So they both get equal amounts of use. That's a good question. So outside of, for you guys use cut with Toros, right? Is this your mowers that you have?
Yep, we're all Toro.
All Toro. Any other equipment that you guys use regularly outside of the mowers that's not Toro? I guess you're
well, I guess we used to use a Salsco and a True Turf roller, but now we just got a new equipment package that just came in, and we're using we just got 2 new Toro rollers that they've come out with that are really good. Tractors are Kubota, if you count those, and then we got a skid steer and a backhoe that are John Deere, but all the turf maintenance equipment is all Toro.
Is all Toro, all red. Okay, got you. Yeah, nice. So you guys are not using the mower of the PGA Tour? What's going on, man?
No.
All right. Okay. So next up, we got Bermuda DIY guy. He says, Mirimichi carbonized PN. It's essentially spreading mix, right? I have 3 weak areas under trees that I'm trying to bring back. Already trimmed the trees up, and I'm trying to improve the weak soil. Yeah. So carbonized PN is 2 products, or 2 ingredients rather. It's compost. It's a screen compost, very clean screen compost, and it's biochar. So you take, I think it's pine wood biochar. That's charged. So you take charged biochar and compost, and that essentially is what carbonized PN is. So yes, if you have some weak areas that you're trying to, you can use it as a top dressing mix. If you have some weak areas you're trying to bring back, it's really good stuff as far as just for helping improve soil quality and introducing like rich organic material. It's really hard to beat carbonized PN. So yeah, based on what you're trying to do, I think it'd be a great fit, great choice.
Right.
Yeah. Let's see. Optic Cyclic's up next. He says, Canadian herbicides are a pair of gloves and a kneeling path. Yeah, I have to look into this. I wonder, how long have herbicides been banned in Canada? I guess, is it a recent thing, or has it been like decades that you haven't been able to get herbicides there? I guess I should know that. I should look into that. All right. Next up, let's see. It's Audacity says, lots of questions tonight. Any tips for turning with the Greensmaster 1600? I'm still learning mine, so turns around the fence aren't natural for me as yet. Okay. Like whip turns. Any tips to doing whip turns, Devin? Anything? You gotta practice them.
Yeah, just a lot of practice. We have a couple guys on our crew that make it like look really easy. Like if they're mowing a green, they'll just like have one hand on the handle, and then they kind of just turn into it, and it just goes into the next thing. But yeah, and then I haven't walk mowed in forever. The further up you go, the further away you get from all the fun stuff at the course. Right. But I used to do like a drum roll where I would turn and I would kind of hold it, and then if it's dewy especially, then you could kind of slide it into your next pass.
And next pass, yeah.
Yeah.
So so it's Audacity. I mean, it's a fine thing, because I tend to throttle down a little bit as I'm coming to the end of the pass, because what I found is if you keep the same speed, you can do that. You can whip turn while you're going at the same, I guess you're not necessarily flat out, so Greensmaster doesn't go that fast, but at a faster mowing pace. But I find if you do that, when you do your whip turn, you tend to get a little bit of tearing in the area where you do the turn, because the mower's kind of spinning out a bit. So if you can throttle back a little bit, like slow down how quick the mower is moving, and then the mower almost turns itself. If I'm turning to my left, I'll pass the mower to my left hand and tip it up and just kind of push it, and the mower just kind of like the drum turning kind of turns the mower for you, and then you just kind of lay it back on the turf and it kind of takes off on its own. So it's practice. You just got to practice it. But you should not be wrestling the mower to do a whip turn. Like you tip it back and then you literally push, and the mower will turn itself, and you kind of just lay it back on the turf and it'll take off. So it's as you do it more, you get better at it. Practice. Demetrius Forrest says, "Great show, Ron." Well, yeah, I got a great guess, great questions, and yeah, we're having a good time. So thanks for that. Appreciate it. Next up is Demetrius. He's back again. He says, "Quick question. I'm currently bagging my Bermuda lawn due to a POA outbreak. At what point do you recommend rotating from bagging to mulching?" I don't know. Whenever you get tired of bagging it. It's not, here's the thing. POA is going to go away or become less of an issue once temps get warmer. Like it's a cool season grass. So as we get the summer temps we get here in Georgia, it's going to eventually start dying off. You probably don't want to keep it around that long, but I mean, if it's still there and it's still producing seed heads, continue to bag it if you're trying to not spread it around. So I'd say, bag it as long as POA is still flowering, which really should not be that much longer if you're in Georgia. So there's that. All right, Joshua Chasing says, what are your thoughts on the Hudson Star manual greens mower for smaller lawns? I've never used one myself, so I can't say for sure. I'm not sure. Have you used one or seen one?
No.
Yeah.
No.
I've never used one. It's probably okay. I've just never used one myself, so I can't comment. I mean, it's like a $2,000 manual reel mower, so I imagine it's pretty good. I would hope so, but I've not used one myself to be able to say for sure. I will say this, Joshua, you can get a great looking lawn using a manual reel mower. You really can. It's like it's still gonna look better than when it's cut with a rotary. And I imagine that Hudson Star should do a great job because it's designed for cutting greens as a manual push mower. So you have to try out and report back and let us know. All right, Gary Kellett Jr. says, hey, happy Friday, Devin. I notice on the golf course grasses here in Chicago burbs, some of the Rangers have Lesco 3-way spot weed spray. Do your Rangers carry it and spray when they see a weed? So,
No, our Rangers don't do that. It's usually I'll have one in my cart, and our second assistant will have one in his cart, and then there's a few guys on the crew that I train on how to mix and use that stuff. So we're pretty particular about who goes in and out of the chem room and mixes up
your stuff. Okay, so everybody's gonna get their own little backpack sprayer, just spot spray. No.
No.
All right. So it's sparing. All right. So Simon Amaral is up next. He says, so I put down a pre-emergent in March. How long before I can put seed down on some bare spots? 4 months, depending on how good a job you did. 4 months. I mean, you can try it, Simon, but but you're not gonna get good germination. You know what I mean? You can try like breaking that barrier, like raking it heavily, but it's if you did a good job with the pre-emergent, it's gonna be several months. So I'm not sure. Do you guys ever outside of like breaking that barrier and really disturbing it, any tips for someone that may put pre-emergent down and wants to try and plant some seed? I mean, what would you say?
I guess if you're gonna just do like little spots, maybe use a garden weasel just to kind of rough it up a little bit, and then if you're doing your whole yard, I wouldn't recommend it, but I would probably aerate to get channels all the way through, and then try to get that seed down below that barrier in the soil. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. I'd probably just bite the bullet and wait till next year.
Wait till next year. Yeah. Yep. All right. So next up is Russ. He says, hey guys, Hydrochain, is spot spraying with liquid for my localized dry spot okay, or is a granular broadcast better? Also, any cheaper alternatives to Carbon Pro G/carbonized PN for organic matter? Yeah, I mean, if you can find... Okay, first question. For localized dry spots, there's a product called... You can use Hydrochain, but they came up with a new product called Foreplay, which is Hydrochain, kelp, a surfactant, and there's something else that's in it as well. I can show you here really quick. Russ, so if you go to the store and go to shop and then go to soil moisture management, you'll see this. So Foreplay, this is the product that it's mainly Hydrochain, but it's got kelp extract, some humate, a soil conditioner, and a non-ionic surfactant. So it's got 4 different products in it. And if for localized dry spots, this is what you'd want to go with. As far as the other question as cheaper, I'll put a link in the chat here for you so you can find that easier. As far as cheaper alternatives to Carbon Pro G or carbonized PN, not that are going to be the same product. So Carbon Pro G and carbonized PN, even if you can find them locally, are going to be more expensive than your compost, mainly because of the biochar that's in it. You have biochar and it's a charged biochar. So it's going to be more expensive than those products, but if you can find like a good screened compost, you could use that to increase your organic material. That's an option that can work that can work well too. But as far as like finding a local option that is the same thing as carbonized P or Carbon Pro G, not really. It's more expensive for a reason, because it's not easy to produce that stuff. So, but if all you're looking for is organic material, you can find a less expensive option that can satisfy that. It just won't have the biochar in it. All right. Next up is Scott R. Oh, this is good. So I believe Scott is a grass nerd. He doesn't work in industry because he sent me an email, but he's a serious grass nerd. So question for you. He says, what's the average pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet on the fairways and tees? Waypoint Analytical Lives believes if you have Bermuda fairways, the recommended is 8 pounds per 1,000 annually. Seems a bit high to me. Thoughts? So, what do you guys do on the course as far as end?
Not sure for Bermuda fairways, but for cool season, we'll put down probably about half a pound, 3/4 pound for the entire year. And then on greens, with that new program we're doing where you get everything where you like it, so you're just not loading up. I think last year we put down 9/10 pound, and that was it.
Wow, so not very much, not anywhere near 8 pounds annually. I mean, for Bermuda, that's I've always heard that for Bermuda, 4 to 5 pounds annually, per year annually is about what you do. And I don't get. I'm trying to do the math on this really quick. I don't get anywhere near 8 pounds annually. I mean, I agree with you, Scott. That seems like a lot to me. But maybe because really that would be a pound. You figure the growing season for Bermuda, let's say you start in, let's say March, really it's April. So April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. That's 8 months. So if you did a pound of nitrogen every month, which I don't do, that would be that 8 pounds per year seems like a bunch to me. That seems like a lot. Maybe there's some other data that they're looking at that why they're saying that, but 8 pounds seems a bit strong. Yeah, it seems like a lot of N to me. All right, Kevin Newland has a question for you. He says, what are some sprays you use on fairways, greens, and why? It's probably a long question.
Yeah, it could be really long. So it kind of, I guess I'll start with fairways. We'll put in a nitrogen source, and then we have like a kelp humic source that we put in with that, and then a few other things that go in. It could be a herbicide post-emergent, depending on what month we're in. It could be a fungicide, depending what month we're in. So there's a couple things that change just depending on what part of summer we're in. And then greens, we have a nitrogen source if we put any nitrogen in. And then we have a couple products that are like for the soil, and then some minor nutrients that go in. And then growth regulators, and just some kelp products and humic products as well on greens. So there's a whole slew of things that go in.
So a big cocktail, a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like a lot of what I do and what also I teach in the academy, like as far as we do on our lawn. So a granular, I mean, we use a granular fertilizer. You guys don't use that as much, but like a nitrogen source, a micronutrient, a miners, growth regulator, and then kelp and biostimulant. So yeah, it's a cocktail. Yeah. All right. Robert Rainey says, Devin, are Golf Course Lawn Academy members able to get on the Flying Horse? It's a private club, isn't it? I think so.
Yeah. We're at Part Resort though, so you can stay and play if you want to.
So if you stay, you can play. Cool. So there you go, Robert. And probably don't tell them you're affiliated with the Golf Course Lawn Academy. They might charge you double in that case. They might give you the extra rate for that. All right. No News says, I have to head out, but we'll definitely catch the rest on replay. Thanks both of you for your help. We need to do this more often. Definitely, man. I mean, he's a busy guy, but I appreciate when he comes on because it's always fun to have another perspective and someone that's a cool season expert to answer your questions, which is great. All right. Les says, I hear iron can lower pH, and I've never heard that one, but maybe I also hear to wait weeks after iron to apply lime instead of doing them at the same time. Any insight on that? So first one, iron on pH.
I've never heard of that, so I'm not sure there. And then also iron and lime, I haven't heard any thing to
Yeah.
contradict those, because I don't think it would matter, because I don't believe iron lowers pH. So yeah, not entirely sure
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. I've not heard that one, Ledge. I'll take a screenshot. I'll look into that one, but I've not heard that either. And as far as waiting a few weeks, I've not. Yeah. I mean, the big thing with lime is that when you apply it, you do want to water it in heavily. You want to make sure you really get it down in the soil profile. You don't want to have it like sitting on the grass. But I mean, yeah, I've not heard of iron and lime having any kind of weird interaction. Might be, but I've never heard of it. All right, Scott R says LG is the goat. Listen, don't feed his ego. Don't do that. He's actually been on pretty good behavior tonight. We don't need to. You don't want to wake him. Don't bring him up. So much love for you. Let's see. Okay, Lon says I just sent you pictures of my lawn. I'll look for them really quick here. And while I look for those, I'll get a question here. See if I can throw it to Devin. It says, "Get to Liz says new neighbors have foot high weeds. Will my lawn get weeds from them letting things get out of control?" What say you, Devin? So if your neighbor has weeds that are foot long, foot tall, are you going to potentially have a problem from that?
I would say, yeah, you'll probably eventually have a problem, because they'll go to seed eventually, and then the wind will carry them over.
Yeah, yeah. So talk talk to them. Talk to your neighbors and say, hey, buddies, guys, what do you guys think about not having foot long weeds, possibly? All right, so yeah, so OK Lawn sent some pictures of his lawn. I got a few of them here, so I can get them up here real quick. So I see the POA problem you're dealing with, and that is yeah, that's substantial, man. You may just embrace that one. So this is his, I think it's his back lawn. So this is picture 1 of his back lawn. That's a lot of POA. It's a lot of POA, man. Yeah, so there's that one. And we have that. I mean, if that's all POA, you might, I don't know. That might be a burn down and start over.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to get that done. I don't even know that I would. Yeah, and then next, the front lawn's looking solid. Looks good. Looks like some kind of.
Yeah, that looks great.
Yeah, is that maybe a fescue or something? It looks kind of taller.
Yeah, that'd be my guess. It looks nice.
Yeah, looks good. And then yeah, the back lawn, we have a close up here. And this is definitely POA annua, which yeah, man, if that's all throughout the lawn, one of two things: either live with it, like just have an annual bluegrass back lawn, or you'd burn that down and start over. That's a lot of POA to try and control. And here's the thing: you got to be prepared for. Even if you spray that out, like you're going to be fighting that for a while. It's not going to be a one and done with that, because it looks like it's been hulking out, living its best life in the in that area. So yeah, that's gonna be a project. It can get better. It's gonna be a project though. And yes, get to Liz. You are gonna have challenges with weeds from your neighbor. Okay, next up we got Pest and Lawn Ginger. What's going on, man? Pest and Lawn Ginger from Utah. He's another YouTuber. Puts out lots of great content. Hello from Utah. What's going on, Pest and Lawn Ginger? Hopefully you're doing well, sir. And then next up you have the Lawnmower Master. Says, I currently have a California trimmer. What should I upgrade to if I end up liking reel mowing? Any kind of greens mower. Like if you want to go up a notch. Yeah, I think so. I mean, so you guys have Toros. I've never used a Deere. Have you ever used a John Deere or worked on a course where John Deere was the mower?
In New York we did. Yep, and I prefer John Deere.
I
prefer Toro, yes.
Over John Deere.
Toro.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Just maintenance. I mean, cut. I imagine is similar, but
I think just maintenance is a little easier. I just think the Toro is just built a little bit better. Just overall seems like a better piece of machine to me.
Okay. Yeah, mine's been rock solid. I don't have anything to compare it against from a standpoint of the Deere, but it's I mean that mower is it's like a tank. Yeah. Like a tank. All right. So JB has a question here. He says, Devin, what goes into maintaining a putting green? Core and spike aerating, top dressing, rolling the green, etc. Do you work on soil management by adding organic material?
So yeah, I'd say everything you said to start out is all stuff that goes into there. And then soil management, you really don't want organic material in a green. The higher OM you have, the worse the green will probably be. You want your OM numbers pretty low. So yeah, so that changes your fertility and everything. Like I said, we only put 0.9 pounds of N down for an entire growing season last year on our greens. Because the more nitrogen you put down, the more organic matter you have. Which makes them soft and not good from a playing standpoint. Usually want them firm and fast. So yeah, and then water management, if it's for like an actual golf course green, is pretty important. We have myself and my assistant have TDRs, and we go out and we have magic numbers that if that's what they're at, then it's a sweet spot, and if it's above, then obviously you're not going to water. And if it's below, depending on what day of the week is, if I get a certain number on a green and it's the night before watering, I'll let it go. But yeah, we only water the greens twice a week. Tuesdays with the green spray because some of our products have to get watered in, and then not till Friday or Saturday will be the next watering. Usually Fridays is when they'll get it. So yeah, there's a lot that go into it.
Nice. Yeah. And to your point, it's not like a schedule where you're saying, okay, this day we're doing this day we're doing that. You have to kind of look at it and say, okay, it needs this, or we need to adjust this. And you're always jockeying and tweaking things as you're going along.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. All right. So Scott R is up next. He says a gallon of T-Nex will treat 500,000 square feet. If you have Bermuda, yep, using the quarter ounce per 1,000 square foot rate, it would take you years to use a gallon. If you're residential, a gallon isn't needed. I agree, Scott. I mean, it's unless you have a bunch of friends that you're going to buy a gallon and you're going to split it, it's going to go bad long before you're able to use it up. I mean, you're like one of these, a bottle of Primo will treat 16,000 square feet. So one of these, if you have a 4,000 square foot lawn, is enough for an entire season. So you get like fresh product. You got an easy, convenient measuring cup. Like this is what I would go with for people that have that if you're just looking to use growth regulator on your residential lawn, unless you have acres that you're trying to take care of, in which case you're probably not spraying growth regulator over acres of lawn or of turf. Probably not. That's why I think this is a much better option for like 90% of people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good point. Good question. Or good talking point rather. All right, next up we got the Lawnmower Master. Says I'm also having Tiff Tuff delivered for an area in my yard. Will Tiffway 419 invade it or look different? It will likely look different, and yes, they will blend. I would invade. I wouldn't say invade, but they're gonna. It's not like it's gonna stay just in one spot. They are gonna blend together, and I imagine they're gonna look a little bit different. Like Real Rollers has Tiff Tuff. I think their Bermuda is Tiff Tuff. And it doesn't look. I mean, the green, the color of Tiff Tuff, I find to be a bit darker. Their Tiff Tuff is a little bit darker than 419. But from a leaf standpoint, there's not, to my eyes, not a huge difference. But color-wise, Tiff Tuff to me looks a little bit darker green than 419. So, and to answer your question, yes, they are gonna invade each other because that's what Bermuda does. Optic Cycle says the Ginger can be the next test. Yeah, we got to talk about it. I can talk to him and see what he wants to do. He wants to come on and chat, hang out. Yeah, pass the lawn, Ginger. You know he does. That's what he does for a living. I think he owns a spray business. He sprays he has a company that sprays lawns for a living. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, as far as like someone you could ask about all kinds of cool combinations, it would be interesting one to have on. All right, let's see here. Okay, Long Guy says, can you say something about the about the rotary mower? I mow with a rotary Honda walk behind, and I feel left out. I'm only kidding. There's nothing wrong with a rotary. I mean, if you keep them sharp, they do a good job. I mean, on the course, you guys use rotaries for what? For the rough, I guess? Or?
Yep, rough and green surrounds. Yep, and then my old house, I used my Toro rotary, which was awesome. I had like 8 different blades, so probably twice a week I was putting a new blade on it, and then I'd take the other one and sharpen it at work.
Oh no! So no, they didn't hear that again. So how often were you changing the blades? How often were you sharpening the blade on your rotary?
So I had eight blades, and I would sharpen. I'd have them all sharpened at any given time, and I would twice a week I'd put a new blade on.
See, so guys, so there tells you so rotaries can work, but most people that have a rotary mower, it's only sharp the day they take it out of the box, and they never replace the blades, they never sharpen them. So if you keep it sharp, you can get a good result with a rotary mower. What he's doing is pretty hardcore as far as having multiple blades and rotating them out. But that's what it takes if you're really serious about keeping it looking nice. So yeah, good stuff. All right, we have up next Jim Carson. Nope, that's not a question for me. Derek Canada says, "Hey Ron, where are you getting your outlet service? I got my Sterling 51 but I got a Kensington 17B that needs some work. So as far as service, there's not really a whole lot that the outlet needs. I mean, it's belts that I can replace myself. I've not had to do that as yet. And as far as sharpening, there's a local guy, Atlanta Reel Mowers, Michael. Let me get Michael's last name. Michael, I'll see if I can find him here. He does an awesome job with sharpening. Michael Hammonds. He does a great job of sharpening the reel. So you can just take that to him and he'll get it all freshened up and stuff. So yeah, that's who does the sharpening work. And as far as service, there's not a whole lot that you really have to do to the electric mowers. You know, a belt here and there, but that's, you know, there's no spark plugs, there's no engine, there's no oil, there's nothing to change really. It's just run it. Okay. And then as far as your 17B, I don't know. You know what you might do is this. Look, if you can get on Real Roller's website, go to realrollers.com, and on their website they have like a they have the grinder finder. On that utility, those people will do sharpening, but they will service mowers as well. So look through some of those, and you might be able to find someone that can help work on your 17B. Or worst case, also reach out to Roland. Reach out to Roland at Outlet USA, and he can point you in the right direction. Okay, let's see here. We have OK Lawn guy. This is a good one. He says, why are rollers on the front of greens mowers when most residential striping kits install on the back of the mower? It seems like the front roller would push the grass down before the reel cuts it. It's a good question.
Yeah, I don't know.
So why are, well, we got to remember OK Lawn guy, like why, so you're asking why is the roller on the front instead of the back? Well, I mean,
Probably wouldn't really work on a rotary to have a striping kit on the front. It wouldn't really be a place to mount it.
Yeah, I think, I don't think that would really work well on a rotary. On a reel mower, I mean, on a greens mower, you have the rear drum which propels it, and then you have to support the mower in the front, so that's why the roller makes sense for the front. As far as it pushing down the grass and before the reel gets to it, that's not really, I've not found that to be a problem, especially if you're using a grooved roller. You tend to not, you don't really have a problem. I mean, here's a good example. You look at like Robert's kind of cut here. Let me see if I can find him again with his awesome looking lawn. Can I find the picture? It is right there. Yeah. So this picture here, I mean, this is a mower. I think he has a John Deere. I believe it's a Deere. And he cuts it with it's got a grooved roller on it. And you can look at the cut. I mean, let me just get this off here so you can see the bean here. If you look at that, you can see the edges of the grass. That looks pretty good to me. Like it's a pretty even cut, and that's with a grooved roller on the front, right? So if your height of cut isn't crazy tall, like if it's not really high, like you're not trying to cut, like if you're using in other words, if you were cutting, say, grass that's 1.5 inches or 2 inches, I could see that where you would push it down and it might not spring back up by the time it gets to the reel and bud knife. But if you're cutting shorter, it shouldn't be a problem. Like it's not a problem on golf courses. I don't have that problem on my lawn, so you should be not really an issue. Yeah, OK Lawn guy. Do you guys use any smooth rollers on any of the mowers on the golf course, or are they all grooved?
They're all grooved.
Yeah, all grooved rollers. Okay, cool. All right, guys, we are getting close. Jim Carson says, my push rotary lawnmower will not cut low enough for me. So which model should I get? I only need a push mower. I have a Tiff-Tough lawn. Okay, so your rotary will not cut low enough. What model should you? I guess for a rotary, I don't know. I'm not going to be a whole lot of help on rotaries that cut short. But I'm not sure if you know, Devin, like what?
I guess you just kind of have to do your research and read some specifications of, as far as like the height of cut that the mower will go to for what you're aiming to do. Yeah.
Oh, I don't. But Jim, if you're going for a real mower, depends on your budget. Depends on what you want to. Yeah. I mean, a greens mower is going to produce the best cut, but they are also, I hate to say the hardest, but they also have more. There's more to them to live with every day, like especially on a residential lawn. But as far as cut quality, there's nothing that's going to beat like a greens mower.
Yep. Hey, Ron, give me 1 second. I'm going to run to the restroom real quick. I'll be right back.
Go for it. I got you. Go for it, man. I got it. All right. So next up, we got Archie Amos. He says, got an eye on a Greensmaster 800 for $500. Your thoughts? Go bad, good entry machine. Is it easy to maintain? Yeah. So if it's for $500, that's a pretty low price. So what I want to make sure, Archie, is make sure that the reel, and you'd have to take it to a place to have them to do this, to assess it yourself. Like make sure the reel still has plenty of life left in it. The bed knife still has plenty of life left in it. Those are the big things, because those are the most expensive items to change on the mower. You know what I mean? Like if you buy a $500 mower and then you have to go put a new reel and bed knife in it, and then in all the service, the work that goes along with that, the bearings and everything else, you can be looking at $1,000, $1,200 on that. So that you can easily add a lot of money to that $500 mower price if that needs to be done. Belts, I mean, if the fresh belts are on there, that's fine. But belts are really not that bad. They're not that hard to change, so I wouldn't be worried about that too much. It's really the reel and bed knives that you want to make sure are in good shape. Like when you inspect it, make sure there's no like any big nicks or gouges in the reel or bed knife. And if you can, you can take pictures and send them to a place that you're going to have service it, so they can determine if there's a lot of life left in that. That would be good. If you can also check to make sure it's cutting paper all the way across. That's an important thing to check too, because if it's what you'll find if it's cutting. What I have found is that a lot of real mowers, they will cut well, at least with greens mowers anyway, they will cut well on the left side. The first part where you'll start getting some coning tends to be the right side of the mower. So make sure it cuts paper all the way across. If it's not doing that, that could be a sign that it could be a sign that needs to be adjusted, or it could be a sign that you may have a reel that's starting to have some coning going on. So it's hard to say without looking at it. $500 for a reel mower is a really good price. But it's almost, for a grease mower, is a really good price, but it's almost too good. You know what I mean? Is what I'm trying to get at. So yeah. As far as an entry level, yeah, Archie, it's a great mower, and I won't even say entry level. If it's in good shape, you really shouldn't have to replace that. It's a greens mower. It's going to be a great mower. You're going to be hard pressed to find a mower that's going to cut better than it. It's just a matter of what condition mower are you getting, and are you going to put a bunch of money into a brand new piece of equipment. So I don't know, Devin. As far as you guys on the course, you guys probably don't buy used equipment. You guys probably buy used stuff and just lease it, or how do you guys do that?
Yeah, it's all in a lease package. Yep.
Yeah. So big thing is make sure the reel and bed knife still have plenty of life on them, is what I would say, Archie, because that's going to be the most expensive thing to replace.
Yep.
I mean, outside of the engine. So yeah. All right, next up is CS Mike. He says, okay, we got a good one here. He says, I applied T-Nex or /Primo at full rate, 0.75 ounces per 1,000 square feet for mixed cool season grass. Okay, Cleveland, Ohio, yesterday. But I have predominantly perennial ryegrass, which has a rate of 1 ounce per 1,000. What type of effects might I possibly see?
You might get a little bit of bronzing on the tips of the turf, especially if you didn't mix it with like a fertilizer or like a liquid iron. You might get a little bit of bronzing, just a little phyto tip on the very tip of that grass. Nothing to worry about. A couple mowings, it'll eventually grow out of it and you'll mow it off. But if it does do that, the next time just mix in a little bit of liquid nitrogen and a little bit of liquid iron, and that should mask that enough that you really won't see that.
Yeah, Mike. So, for ryegrass, I would say this: if you have the time to be out in the lawn twice a month, which you probably do because you're watching this, whatever the monthly rate is, cut that in half, and then just spray that. And you're going to find you're going to get great regulation out of that,
Yep.
and it's going to minimize tip burn. So I would do that. There's really, outside of the time saving of only having to do it once per month, there's really no reason to not divide it up into multiple apps, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's see. Would it be beneficial to switch to split applications for T-Nex for next month from now on? I would say yes.
I would.
Yep. Yeah, I would say yes. Yep. Let's see. Nixa says, Devin, I worked at a driving range during college. People liked hitting the ball retriever tractor way too much.
That's funny. I'd believe it.
It's a thing. I think it is a thing. I mean, they're pretty shielded.
I'm guilty of that. Like when we go to Top Golf, if it's out there, I'm always trying to aim for it.
Yeah, trying to go for it.
I'm guilty of it too. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you can even find a video of Tiger online doing that. Like, I don't know if it was intentional, because I think he was hitting a wedge, but the mowers out there, the retrievers out there picking up balls, and he hits a shot, and it lands right on top of it. So I mean, he could have avoided it. I'm sure it's Tiger Woods, but I mean, I'm sure even the best are guilty of that at times too. So, yeah. All right. CS Mike says, I I'm putting a brand new 8-blade reel and a high cut bed knife on my recently acquired GM1000. Would I be able to get away with just backlapping, or is it absolutely necessary to get the bed knife ground?
Brand new.
Yes, it's putting a new reel on a GM1000. I could tell you what a guy that like the guy that works at Atlanta that owns Atlanta Reel Mowers will told me. But I mean, I'll let Devin chime in first.
I would probably get it. I would take it in and get it ground for the first time, and then while it's there, I would make sure all your height of cut and everything is adjusted properly for the first go. I mean, you could probably get away with backlapping, but it's probably not going to be the best quality of cut. I would personally, I would take it in.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the same thing. If you speak to, you're probably not around here, Mike, CS Mike, or Mike CS, but Mike Hammers from Atlanta Reel Mower said the same thing. He says pretty much when you put a brand new reel and bed knife on a mower, one, you want to make sure that everything is trued up nicely. You want to make sure that the height of cut is set set well. But then you also want to marry those two. Even if you're putting a brand new reel and a brand new bed knife, a grind to help marry them he says is very important. He says he won't put like a new reel or bed knife on a mower to send it out. He says there's no way he would ever do that. So yes,
I guess for what it's worth, on my Greensmaster, I got a new reel and bed knife just put on mine, and I had one of our mechanics do a full grind on it, so I also did that as well.
Yeah. And you think about it, Mike, for what it's, I'm not sure if you've done it yet, but if you're going, when you see the bill that's involved in putting all the work that takes to put a new reel on it, like them putting a fresh grind is actually a small part of it in comparison to, I mean, if they're doing it right, they're going to be replacing the bearings as well too. They're going to do the reel, the bed knife, and they're going to do bearings and all the work that's involved in that. It's going to be not going to be cheap. So I would make the investment of making sure everything is married nicely together. I wouldn't, you're already spending the money. Why another $100 or $150 is not that much in comparison of the life you're going to get out of the equipment if you do it right.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. Okay. No Excuses says the Time Master, a real Time Master. And what you said you had a rotary Toro. Which one did you have? Was it the Time Master? There's the Time Master as a recycler.
No, I think it was just a recycler. It was just one of the regular Toro recyclers.
Okay.
And then I had the just the Toro stripe kit on the back of it.
Nice. All right. Vahid Navi says, I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you from you because I did not have any information about grass when you relied on me. Right now I know I have a golf lawn. I guess to mean a golf course lawn, about 5,000 square feet, cool season lawn in Canada, Richmond Hill. Very cool. Very nice, Vahid. Awesome stuff. I mean, it is fun. It's a lot of fun once you have the information to be able to, to make good decisions and you know what you're doing. You're not just trying to, I always say, if you go to Home Depot this time of year, like this now and really through May, when people are just, people that are not really into lawn care decide, hey, I'm going to fertilize my lawn. It is like watching people just kind of like, when they're trying to pick out a fertilizer, they're just looking around and just kind of like, I'm not sure what to get. And, just pick one and hope for the best, apply and pray. So having the data, the knowledge around how to do it right is pretty valuable,
Yep.
So actually I met a viewer that way one time. I was in there taking a picture of a Scott's spreader. Because I was I needed some B-roll for a video, so I was in there like just getting some images of it, and a guy was in there. He's there with his wife and kid, and he was kind of like had the look of like, I'm not sure, like he was in the Scott section. He walked over to the other section. He was pacing back and forth, and then he just kind of looked at me. He says, what are you doing here? And I explained, I have a YouTube channel. I do lawn care. He says, dude, can you give me an option? What do you think about out of these? What would you go with? So I gave him some advice and sent him off on his way and said, hey, listen, before you really do this, you need to get a soil test. I said, you don't have to buy it from like my store, but get a soil test. And based on that, come back here and pick your fertilizer based on that. Like you're going to get a better result if you do that. So, but that's not you, Vahid, because right? You're in the club. All right. Let's see. We have, Jim says a 200 square foot Tiff Tough lawn needs a reel mower push model. Oh, okay. In that case, the Earthwise, it used to be like there's the Earthwise and I think like the Scott's Pro. I'm just going to try to find it. They make it like Scott's.
The Scott's is the one I'm going to get for my growing stuff.
Yeah, it's Scott's makes a because they've upgraded. They've got like a Scott's 7 blade real mower now. 7-blade. It's black. Yeah, it's a 7. Yeah, this is it here. It's their pro line. It's their yeah, this guy here. This is what you're gonna want. If you're gonna pick one just for a smaller lawn. So I got a picture up here. I'll show you real quick. This guy, and switch that.
Yep.
So this is a good option. I had the 5-blade version of this. It cut really well. I used to cut, almost 12,000 square feet with one of these guys, which again, crazy when I say it now, but this will serve you well. This is like a good 7-blade, which that's going to give you even a better cut. So that is what I would go with if it were me, Jim. And if you're interested in supporting the channel, I will put a link here. Won't cost you any extra, but to that mower. So that's yeah, it's a great mower. It's well built, cuts great. Keep it sharp. Let's see here. Harper's Explorer said, I've been push mowing with a 1600 greens mower for decades. Okay, so you mean push mowing with a powered reel mower? So it says, I teach my recruits to do a teardrop turn. To turn to the right, you turn left and then walk straight and then turn the mower to the right. So you kind of do like a little whip, like you're setting up to do a drift, like you like a feint. You kind of feint to the right and then come back and drop on. Cool. Very cool, Harper's. Yeah, that's a good tip. That's a good tip. Nice. Very, very nice. Thank you for sharing your experience. Adam Boyd says, what does Fido tip mean?
Oh, like phytotoxicity, if I can say it right.
Maybe I'm not sure.
It's like PHYTO phyto. I'm getting tongue tied. It's essentially just a tip burn on the plant, just where it's stressed out the very tip of the leaf blade.
Yeah. So phyto, like with a PH, not phyto.
Yeah, phytotoxicity is what I'm looking for.
Okay. So that's it. So there you go, Adam. Let's see. But he says, no one can understand when I'm talking about grass. Really, I can see people. I can't see people to talk about their lawn. So again, thank you. Well, there you go. You have a club, right? This is like our support group, our national or global support group to talk about lawn care. So we can be your buddies, Vahid. Chris Naran says, what's the best growth regulator in your opinion?
For homeowners, probably Primo would be the best.
Yeah, because that's what you can get. I mean, Primo's great. Because there's probably some other ones out there, but I like Primo. If we could get it, paclobutrazol, like Tide Paclo, is a great product too, but you can't really use it on residential lawns anymore. So Primo's good, and if you use it every 2 weeks, then you don't get the tip burn. So I would. Okay, Davin Larry says, do you guys do a relief grind or a spin grind on your machines?
We do spin grinds. We have a big grinding room where each day the mowers come in and our mechanic checks everything on them, and if they're not good, he pulls them off and he'll regrind them. And he's got, similar to like what I did with my mower blades, we have that on a larger scale with reels, and he's always got a set that is ready to go. So if one comes in dull, yanks them off, puts the new set on, they're ready to go, grinds the next one, and then the cycle just continues through the growing season.
Nice. So you guys are always just rotating them through all the time.
Yep.
Nice. Cool. So we got a question here from Instagram. It says, how frequently do you mow and at what height? This time of year, I'm mowing 3 times a week. I don't really have to. I could probably do it twice a week, but I just like doing it. It's how I got and just think and relax. And as far as height of cut, I am mowing at 0.75, so 3/4 of an inch. 3/4 of an inch is my height of cut. That's where I'll likely leave it throughout the entire growing season. That's where I'm at. All right. Queen Demon 13 says, imagine doing this instead of growing a garden. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Jim Carson says, thanks, Ron. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, Jim, if it's your birthday.
Nice.
Happy birthday. Yeah. And then Mike CS says, I was practicing the teardrop turn a few days ago. Great workout. Here's the thing. If you're doing it right, Mike, the mower does most of the work. Like what he's talking about is where you feint, like you turn away from the direction you want to turn. And then if you were going to turn to the right, if you're going to do the teardrop, you would turn them over to the left slightly. And then you would push on the right side of the handle, like from right to left, and the mower will pretty much turn itself. So it's not, if you're putting a lot of work into it, I'm gonna say you're doing it wrong, but you're not allowing the machine to do a lot of the work. Like the mower will turn, like even the outlet, like I can turn the outlet with one hand, like it's as heavy as that mower is. So you can absolutely let the machine do most of the work. All right, next up is James Threadgill. I think it's the last comment we have tonight. He says, best lawn care show on YouTube, period. I appreciate that, James. There's there's a lot of them out there, and we appreciate you guys spending time with us on Friday night. So yeah, I really do appreciate the kind words. And of course, I got got an expert on here helping out with all the cool season questions and just giving some other feedback, which is also always fun. Well, guys, gals, I think that is about it. We're just at just over 3 hours tonight, which is good. It's a good reasonable time. We're not crazy late. We got all your questions and answers, guys. There's a new blog that's out on top dressing your lawns. If you're interested in that, take a look here. I will have it also posted at the end of the show. It'll be the pinned comment at the end of the show. And then Oliver Ridham says, Humichar versus Essential G, which one is better? In my opinion, Essential G. Humichar is a better comparison to Carbon Pro G, because Humichar is basically it's compost and biochar. Essential G is Carbon Pro G essentially is compost and biochar. Essential G is it's a successor. You've got compost, biochar, humate, silica, reclaimed coffee grounds. There's more ingredients in it. So I would say, of the two, if I had a choice, I would go with Essential G over Humichar. If you are choosing between Humichar and Carbon Pro G, whichever one you can find that's going to be less expensive, they're fairly comparable. But Essential G, in my opinion, is a superior product to either one of those because of the newer formulation.
Yeah, I'm excited to try that Essential G.
Yeah, man, you have to let me know. You have to try. Let's keep me posted on how it works. Lee on the turf park. If you guys see the pictures, 2 weeks ago, he did 2 bags of Essential G over 6,000 square feet. So he went a little bit heavy, and the lawn looks incredible, man. It's really popping. And then, our last comment of the evening, he says, Devin, I talked to a buddy that works at a country club. He does club membership and food. He told me the course superintendent is always mad from late spring to early fall. Weather, equipment, LOL. Yeah, such is life, man. I'm sure there's always challenges. Well, guys, gals, again, thanks so much for all the kind words and coming to hang out as well. Devin, thank you a ton.
Yeah, anytime.
For hanging out. And again, if you're ever in Colorado Springs, if you want to go hang out at a spa and resort and you want to go play on a really cool course, go check out the course. There's the club at Flying Horse. The club at Flying Horse. Well, awesome, guys. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks so much. We will catch up next time.
Yeah,
Take care.
Guys.